This young man was originally a member of the trash collection team. Simply put, his job was to gather the remnants left after today's conquests. While Tsuyoshi was busy cleaning a Class C cave, he stumbled upon a ring stuck on the hand of a skeleton, and he was eager to put it on. He planned to take it to Mr. Nakazato for a level check, but as soon as he slipped it onto his index finger, the ring suddenly tightened. It felt as if it was fused to a part of his body. "What kind of ring is this?" Tsuyoshi exclaimed in shock. He could even feel a slight pain radiating from his finger. Then he saw a notification appear before him stating that the infinite ring now considered him its owner. From now on, the infinite ring would not be removable or transferable. An endless pathway would soon be opened, and at the same time, Tsuyoshi heard a voice reading this notification aloud. But he was alone in the well. He truly had no idea who the owner of that voice was. Suddenly, concentric circles of eerie golden light emanated from the ring. Before Tsuyoshi could react, he was sucked into the middle of them. "Help me!" he screamed with all his might, but it was already too late. His colleagues faintly heard his voice. Clearly, Tsuyoshi was still here, but now he had vanished. However, he had always been the one to make the most of every last moment in the cave, to search so today when Tsuyoshi hadn't returned to the gathering point. They weren't surprised, and they didn't rush to look for him either. Unfortunately, they had no idea what kind of calamity Tsuyoshi was going through. He felt as if he was free-falling into an endless abyss, and when he regained consciousness, Tsuyoshi discovered that he had been captured by beastmen and was standing before their altar as one of the sinners. He was about to face divine punishment, which seemed to be related to the fierce lightning that had struck the altar earlier. This place was indeed the sacred land of the beastmen, but Tsuyoshi couldn't understand how he had fallen straight from that well to this location. On the throne positioned highest before the altar, the Beast King, the leader of the beastmen, sat there. His expression was unclear. As soon as he signaled to start, another beastman immediately stood up and declared, "My fellow tribesmen, today we will execute these 3 sinners. The first was from our own tribe, for he had sold the secrets of our territory to the despicable elves and humans." As soon as he finished speaking, a chorus of curses erupted. They condemned the traitorous beastman as despicable and deserving of divine punishment. By the Beast King's decree, all 3 sinners would face divine punishment. And that punishment was to endure execution by the divine hammer, surrounded by countless deadly lightning bolts that would crush all sins and even their bodies. The divine punishment quickly descended upon the traitorous beastman. Just by looking at his face, one could understand how excruciating this punishment was. After punishing him, the beastman continued to announce that the next to receive divine punishment was the one who fell from the despicable human world daring to invade our sacred land. For the first time in history, a human dared to trespass into the sacred land of the beastmen, a place that had been completely isolated from the outside world for thousands of years. "This is a declaration of war. Let the divine punishment fall upon the head of the human who dared to break this treaty." Tsuyoshi knew they were about to condemn him, and his body was instantly lifted, ready to become the next target of the divine hammer. Tsuyoshi cried out desperately, trying to explain that it was all just a misunderstanding and that he had accidentally wandered here. He also pleaded for their forgiveness because his sister was still in the hospital waiting for him to come home. However, the beastmen seemed to not hear a word of it. Tsuyoshi was punched in the chest by the guy holding onto his waistband, and the pain made him truly want to cry. He really didn't want to die here. He still had Karina and his dream of becoming a hero. How did everything end up like this? Tsuyoshi was forced to kneel on the altar, looking smaller and more helpless than ever. "You little insect! How dare a tiny human like you challenge the giant beastmen? You will soon be turned to ashes after receiving divine punishment." And just like before, shouts and curses echoed from all sides, all aimed at Tsuyoshi. The divine punishment would come down quickly, but Tsuyoshi was determined not to die in a place like this. And so when the thunder struck the altar, he used all his strength to dodge to the side, which left the surrounding beastmen utterly astonished. He just dodged the divine punishment's lightning. This had never happened before. At that moment, Tsuyoshi managed to crawl back up and shouted, "I won't die here, you bastards!" But just as he finished speaking, the second bolt of lightning struck down. This time, without any preparation, Tsuyoshi took the full brunt of it, screaming out in pain, while the beastmen were filled with glee. "Who told you that the divine punishment only strikes once?" "It only strikes once, right?" Next up was the girl who had been below. Seeing Tsuyoshi resist sparked a glimmer of hope in her heart. But now it seemed all of that was in vain. As for Tsuyoshi, after being struck by lightning, the word pain was not enough to describe what he felt. Still, a small part of his consciousness insisted that he couldn't die here. And at that moment, the infinite ring he had picked up from the well began to glow, accompanied by a new notification. Activating the infinite ring, divine selection system activation complete. System confirmation complete, beginning to restore the body and build the ultimate physique. Another bolt of lightning struck down, piercing through Tsuyoshi's body, and the beastmen watched in excitement. For the first time, they saw someone still gasping for life after the divine punishment, but Tsuyoshi's charred body suddenly soared into the air. The process of building the ultimate physique was gradually progressing, and the beastmen, of course, had no idea what was happening, feeling utterly confused as the progress of the ultimate physique construction increased. Tsuyoshi's body gradually began to recover, and at this moment the divine eye skill also started to be established. In the rain, Tsuyoshi could sense something calling to him. His body once again touched the ground, and Tsuyoshi began to walk. To the astonishment of all the beastmen, the ultimate physique had now been built up to 60%. Two new skills, the divine consciousness and absolute regeneration, had also been established. Seeing him in this state, several beastmen, including the one overseeing the divine punishment today, began to tremble. They had never seen anyone get so close to the divine hammer. On the contrary, their beast king seemed very excited. Was he wanting to lift the divine hammer? At this moment, Tsuyoshi didn't even know what he was doing anymore. He could only hear a voice continuously calling him, urging him on, and he didn't even understand why that voice was calling him. But all of Tsuyoshi's current actions seemed to be driven purely by instinct. Finally, the process of achieving the ultimate state had reached 100%, and he was also granted a special power called the Chosen One. Just like that, Tsuyoshi left the entire Beastman tribe in shock as he actually lifted their divine hammer. It seemed that the voice calling Tsuyoshi was emanating from the divine hammer itself. He didn't know the reason behind it, but if it was calling him, he would make the most of its power. Just like that, Tsuyoshi successfully grasped the sacred artifact of the Beastman tribe in his hands. The system sent a new notification stating that he had obtained the divine hammer and reached level 3. However, the current power level of the divine hammer was at 0% due to Tsuyoshi's insufficient abilities. Therefore, its true power could not be revealed. This hammer also had a special effect, but it couldn't be confirmed due to a lack of skills. There was only one way. Tsuyoshi had to become stronger to unlock the ultimate potential of the divine hammer. The sight of a small human being able to touch the sacred hammer was something that all beastmen found unbelievable, because even their great beast king couldn't lift it. According to the prophecy passed down in the Beastman tribe, anyone who could lift the divine hammer would become the tribe leader. Yet now that hammer was in the hands of a human who had just received divine punishment. Tsuyoshi's wounds had now fully healed. Facing the system screen in front of him, he was still a bit confused, not knowing how his body had become stronger. One hand held the hammer tightly. With the other hand, he was seriously examining the screen in front of him when suddenly the beastmen operating the altar rushed up behind Tsuyoshi, shouting at him. "You human don't think you can touch the divine hammer with those filthy hands?" After saying that, he charged at Tsuyoshi clearly with no good intentions. The beastmen began to cheer like a swarm of bees. That person was General Rayuga, for sure. He wouldn't let a human act so arrogantly. Please help us regain the pride of the Beastman tribe, Rayuga, with eyes blazing with hatred. Staring intently at Tsuyoshi, he said he didn't know what tricks Tsuyoshi had pulled, but the fact that he could escape divine punishment and lift the holy hammer was unacceptable. Quietly, he said, "Put the hammer back where it belongs and accept your punishment," Rayuga commanded in an extremely condescending tone. The screen displayed a notification before Tsuyoshi's eyes stating that the passive skill Divine Eye had been activated. Its effect was to allow the owner to look up detailed information about any item or object. By simply focusing on it, the cooldown time for this skill was 0 seconds, meaning it could be used continuously. Tsuyoshi immediately used the Divine Eye to check the Beastman in front of him. Rayuga had the title of General Level 84 with the profession of Beastman Warrior wielding an A-rank great sword. Tsuyoshi felt a bit surreal as he could actually see the information about his opponent. And based on that information, he concluded that Rayuga was not an easy opponent. Seeing Tsuyoshi staring at him without any sign of fear, the Beastman spoke up. "You lowly human dare to challenge me with your gaze, you have some guts. If you want it, then I'll make sure you die quickly." As he spoke, he swung his sword up. Tsuyoshi knew he could never match a level 84 warrior, so he hurriedly spoke up. Wait, it's just a misunderstanding. Unfortunately, these beastmen had always been rough and didn't like lengthy conversations. Before Tsuyoshi could finish his sentence, Rayuga raised his sword high. Then with a swing, he brought it down. Everyone witnessing this scene believed that Tsuyoshi was surely going to die, as Rayuga was one of the 5 great generals under the Beast King. Even if Cho fights against a beastman, he's still an incredibly strong opponent. Not to mention fighting against a tiny human. Even the beastmen down there believe that Tsuyoshi will definitely be cut in half with just one blow. The moment the blade in Ryuga's hand struck down on the altar, it shook violently, as if all of his strength was focused on that one strike. But what was even more terrifying was, Tsuyoshi was able to block it with the very divine hammer he had just acquired. This act of blocking was purely instinctive, a desperate bid for survival. Even he couldn't believe he could stop Ryuga's strike and his hand was already numb. That hammer was truly incredibly tough, and across from him, Rayuga couldn't hide his surprise when he saw Tsuyoshi boldly block his slash while still standing firm. However, he wasn't satisfied and believed that the only reason Tsuyoshi could do that was thanks to the divine hammer that saved him, so he decided to deliver another blow. Of course, Tsuyoshi still tried to explain, but the opponent refused to listen. This time, he didn't use his sword anymore, but charged in with his massive armored hand to choke Tsuyoshi's neck. He planned to throw him into the sky and finish him off with a seismic move. It was a perfect plan at this precarious moment. The system immediately suggested that Tsuyoshi use his copying skill, which allowed him to feel the opponent's heart with his hand and choose a skill to copy. From all the available skills he had, however, he could only store one single skill. If a new skill was copied, the previous one would be replaced and disappear. Tsuyoshi was an intelligent person. He understood what it meant to feel the opponent's heart with his hand, meaning he had to touch the opponent's chest. So when Tsuyoshi fell, he tried to reach out, even if it was just a light brush across Ryuga's chest, but it was enough to activate the skill. But what he didn't expect was, that beastman possessed so many skills. This left Tsuyoshi momentarily confused about which skill he should copy. On this side, being touched on the chest by Tsuyoshi was a huge humiliation for Rayuga. He was furious and prepared to activate his annihilation skill, the Heaven and Earthquake. At the same time, Tsuyoshi had also found a skill that was quite compatible with his divine hammer, the Heavenquake, which was a very powerful warrior attack skill, though not fully confirmed yet. Since he still lacked the necessary class and weapon, Tsuyoshi closed his eyes, chose Heavenquake, then copied it, and then he fiercely counterattacked with that very skill. This left Rayuga so astonished that he forgot to attack. It was unbelievable. How could he use my skill? Rayuga exclaimed in horror as a loud crash echoed. A series of deafening sounds rang out, and the altar of the beastmen seemed to be on the verge of collapsing. Tsuyoshi thought he could take down his opponent with this strike. However, Rayuga remained completely unharmed. All he felt was confusion, and he even thought that Tsuyoshi had intentionally controlled his strength so he wouldn't feel pain. On the contrary, he felt somewhat comfortable. In reality, Tsuyoshi hadn't intended to hit him without pain and had poured all his strength into it. But since he had just reached level 3 without a class and without a compatible weapon, Tsuyoshi couldn't deal damage to his opponent. To improve this skill, he had to level up. After reading the notification, Tsuyoshi was stunned, only able to mumble out 2 beautiful letters. The fact that Tsuyoshi used Ryuga's own skill and hit him without pain in the chest. Once again, this beastman felt that you were boldly mocking him, and so he picked up the blade again, charging towards you, but this time his action was... Rayuga was interrupted by a loud shout, "Enough!" The beastmen erupted into chaos once more, realizing that their Beast King had left the throne and was personally confronting Rayuga, who was just one of the 5 great generals. And he possessed such terrifying power. So how monstrous could this Beast King be? The moment he landed on the altar, a massive shockwave erupted, dust swirling everywhere, severely limiting Tsuyoshi's visibility. However, what happened next was something no one could have imagined. Because the Beast King, Cao Cao, the leader of the Beastmen, was kneeling before you, leaving the entire Beast tribe in shock, and Tsuyoshi felt just as bewildered. After kneeling for a while, their Beast King slowly stood up and approached you, saying it seemed you had truly been chosen by the hammer of the Divine King, which was certainly a reference from the gods. For hundreds of thousands of years, you were the first to be chosen by the hammer of the Divine King. The Beast King stepped forward, placing both hands on Tsuyoshi's shoulders. His gaze could only be described as absolutely sincere. Compared to Ryuga's madness, this Beast King was much easier to talk to. Then in front of all his kin, the Beast King solemnly declared, "Oh, my fellow beastmen, the hammer of the Divine King is something no one can lift, but this human has done it. He is truly the future leader of our tribe, so we should give him time to hone his strength." The Beast King's announcement shocked the entire tribe once more. Indeed, the prophecy had said that the one who could lift the hammer of the Divine King would be the master of the entire tribe, but the problem was Tsuyoshi was not a beastman. How could a human possibly become the chief of the beast tribe? Rayuga truly did not understand what his king was thinking and spoke up to remind him, "But my king, this guy is a human. What does that mean?" The Beast King turned his head, his gaze sharp enough to intimidate others, completely different from the puppy-like look he had given Tsuyoshi earlier. The prophecy clearly stated, "The leader must be a beastman, right? Are you suggesting we should ignore the one who embodies the hope of our tribe?" Seeing that icy gaze, Rayuga quickly knelt down, not daring to oppose his king, only awkwardly stating that although the prophecy did not clarify this matter. "But if we give the leadership position to someone who is not a beastman, it would be like putting the future of our tribe in danger." The Beast King paid no attention to his words and turned back to Tsuyoshi, asking, "Kid, what's your name?" "Tsuyoshi," you clearly replied. "All right, Tsuyoshi. If you're willing to bear the future of us, then I will grant you your freedom now. However, you are still too weak. Within a year, you must become stronger and return here. At that time, we will see if you are worthy of becoming the leader." As he spoke, the Beast King created a spiritual mark linking with Tsuyoshi's mind, saying that if within a year you deliberately did not return, he would use this mark to find and eliminate you no matter where you were. This way, the Beastmen would feel satisfied with the situation turning so rapidly. Tsuyoshi had not yet adapted when he hadn't even had the chance to respond to the Beast King, when suddenly someone in the crowd below the altar shouted loudly, "Agree, accept your freedom, and become stronger." Tsuyoshi was still trying to catch up when he hadn't even given an answer for the Beast King, and suddenly, someone in the crowd below the altar shouted loudly, "Just accept it, embrace your freedom, and become stronger." Tsuyoshi realized that the girl was supposed to receive divine punishment right behind him, but because of the commotion he caused, she was still safe until now. Feeling a bit curious, Tsuyoshi decided to use his divine sight to check the opponent, but in the title and name section of this woman, there were only 2 question marks. Tsuyoshi only knew that she was also a level 72 beast warrior, specifically a sword user. Just survive. Living is better than wasting the god's magic. This beast girl continued to speak even though she didn't know her opponent's name. But the fact that this powerful female warrior was level 72 was enough. That was already enough to surprise Tsuyoshi. And he was even more curious about why she became a sinner of her tribe. However, this girl was right. The fact that Tsuyoshi escaped death and ended up in this awkward situation was truly a miracle. He didn't have time to hesitate. First, he had to survive so he could find a way back to his world. "Thank you." Tsuyoshi waved at the female warrior and said loudly, then turned back to the Beast King and agreed to this proposal. However, when making the pact, Tsuyoshi also set a condition to take the female warrior with him because he felt she would be useful in the process of training his strength. The opponent seemed quite surprised that he specifically pointed her out to follow him. This was no different from Tsuyoshi saving her life, and finally the Beast King agreed. That girl had officially escaped punishment. Tsuyoshi considered that he had preserved his life, and although he had a tiring day that night, he found it hard to feel sleepy at all. With many thoughts on his mind, Tsuyoshi kept staring at the infinite ring on his index finger, recalling the vague voice he heard back then. It seemed that everything stemmed from this ring. Sushiro had tried to take it off but couldn't. It was indeed thanks to this ring that he had gained these strange abilities. But how could he return to his original world? "It's already, Master." A soft voice rang out, waking him from his chaotic thoughts. Tsuyoshi turned to see the beast warrior with a beaming face standing before him. "Master," he asked back. "Yes, I've decided to serve you from now on." My savior, Tsuyoshi, was suddenly called Master by a beautiful girl with animal ears. This feeling was so stimulating that he couldn't resist. But in front of her, he couldn't let on that he was just a lecherous guy. Ben tried to adjust his expression to be more serious and replied, "It's nothing, she helped me. From now on, we'll support each other. Whether you call me Master or say you serve me, it doesn't matter." This time, he was interrupted by the opponent. "You don't know how significant this is for me, Master. You have given me a second life. No one has ever stood up for me or said thank you directly except for you, Master. So please let me call you Master." As she spoke, the girl held Tsuyoshi's hand. her tone incredibly sincere as she kept repeating it. She emphasized that his appearance was a miracle in her life, and therefore she wanted to dedicate everything to him. But at this close distance, Tsuyoshi really couldn't look into her eyes, which were filled with such sincere emotion. Who said her outfit had to be so deeply cut? He tried to shift his gaze away. He had to stop his nosebleed from flowing out. If she wanted that, then just call me Master. Thank you, Master. Then shall we set off? It's getting a bit late. The girl walked ahead to lead the way, not forgetting to remind Tsuyoshi to watch his steps like a child. These were the first slow steps he took in this strange world. That feeling is actually pretty amazing. But this thought of enjoyment was quickly chased away by the reminder that Karina was still waiting for him, and he was still anxious about how to return to the original world. Then suddenly the system notification appeared again, announcing that the infinite path was now available. Please note that the cooldown time is 24 hours. This infinite path made his heart race. Tsuyoshi jumped because he remembered that he had been pulled into the infinite path, which was why he was transported to this world. So in other words, if he took that path again, he could go home. Right. Without thinking too much, Tsuyoshi tried to request the infinite path to open. This feeling was incredibly familiar as he was drawn back into those concentric circles. Then he disappeared right behind that beast warrior. After struggling for a while in the distorted space tunnel, Tsuyoshi indeed returned to the bottom of the well. He checked the system and found that he still had the abilities he gained in the other world. He was still at level 3, and the God Hammer was still in the system's inventory, which also explained that. Personal stats are shared between the two worlds, but items are not. To use items from the other world, they must be placed in the holy storage first. Tsuyoshi couldn't hide his amazement. He was about to study it further when he heard someone calling him from above. What's going on down there? Get out of the cave before it closes. Tsuyoshi was extremely surprised to see his colleagues still here. He immediately asked, Why are you still here? I left a few hours ago. What are you talking about? You've been here all along. Luckily, I came to remind you. Get out of there before this cave closes. Tsuyoshi listened to them and felt something was off. He was sure he had been in that beast world for at least 5 hours. Facing the urging words from his colleagues, Tsuyoshi temporarily had to climb up first, even though he still felt a confusing heaviness in his stomach. It seemed that while he was in the other world, time in this world had been frozen. This situation felt like something out of a sci-fi comic. So while he was returning to this world, time in the beast world must have stopped as well. Tsuyoshi increasingly felt perplexed about who the original owner of the infinite ring was that granted him these formidable powers. After exiting the well, Tsuyoshi suddenly remembered something and urgently asked his colleague, Oh, right, my old friend. The next awakening test is tomorrow, right? The motivation that always urged Tsuyoshi to become a true hero stemmed from the pain and loss he had experienced. That day in the pouring rain, the monster devoured the entire city. Little Tsuyoshi carried Karina on his back, running for his life while her legs had gone numb. But the more painful thing was that their parents hadn't escaped in time. At that moment, Tsuyoshi had to face a very difficult choice to leave them behind and continue running, or to go back but risk losing their lives together. Just when he couldn't make a choice, the neighbor Nakazato reached out to embrace the two children. Tsuyoshi, keep running. If you stop, you'll lose your life. Don't look back, or both you and Karina will be swallowed by the darkness. Stay calm. You can't defeat the darkness. The scene of devastation amidst the brutal smoke and fire, no matter how long it had been, still haunted him. But Tsuyoshi still couldn't forget, and every time he remembers, he unconsciously sinks into that unbearable pain. Hey, are you okay? Karina's gentle voice echoed in his ears, reminding Tsuyoshi that he was currently in the hospital and was really planning to retake the awakening test tomorrow. Are you all right? You just got back from work today. Regardless of her tone or expression, Karina couldn't hide her worry. Even the nurses had to praise her for always being thoughtful and caring for others. Are you okay? What about you, Karina? Does your leg still hurt? Tsuyoshi asked back as the nurse was giving her an injection. Karina said she was fine, but her body still trembled in fear of the needle even though she couldn't stand anymore and the pain was still there. It seemed like she had gradually accepted it as a part of her life. It was just seeing his little sister suffer like this. Tsuyoshi really couldn't bear it. He tried to activate his divine eye to check Karina's injuries. Her legs were hurt from being trapped under a collapsed building earlier. He knew well that 98% of her nerve cells had died, and her current condition included periodic neuropathic pain with no chance of natural recovery. The probability of walking without assistance was just 1%. The more Tsuyoshi read, the heavier his heart felt. Only a 1% chance of walking unassisted meant Karina must be struggling a lot. Because she was still so young, the future ahead of her should have been bright. She could have lived a normal life, gone to school, played with friends, traveled everywhere, and laughed all day instead of being stuck in the hospital. Like this. Karina was the only family left in Tsuyoshi's life. He didn't want her to suffer any longer, so he decided that even with a probability close to 0, he still wanted to help Karina stand up again. As long as there was still a 1% chance, it was worth hoping for. There had to be a way to make that happen. And the premise was that he had to become a hero. Perhaps then Tsuyoshi could access more information and find a solution. He not only wanted to heal Karina's legs, but also wanted to live a proud life, so he vowed to become a hero and the strongest hero to ever exist in history. Tsuyoshi sought out BTR, a hero testing corporation, in the Awakening test area. A young man had just completed his test and received a customized hero badge. Based on the results of the recent test, becoming a hero was truly something to celebrate, so even if the result was only a D-class hero, it was enough to make the two of them want to soar with joy. The next person after that young man was Tsuyoshi. The person in charge saw in the file that he was someone who was retaking the test after failing the first one and seemed not very enthusiastic. Whenever you're ready, step in and place your hand on the measuring device. But I don't think it's any different from last time, he said. Tsuyoshi wasn't shaken by these words. Soon enough, he would know. Will I waste my time again this time? In fact, even without the test, thanks to the system, Tsuyoshi already knew that he was now level 3 and qualified to become a hero. It was just that he wasn't sure how high his combat power was, so he still had to take it seriously before entering the test. Tsuyoshi activated his superhuman body and maintained the state. Throughout the entire process of measuring the hero's value, the external supervisor could even feel the ground shaking, thinking it was an earthquake. Who would have thought it was actually the shock caused by Tsuyoshi himself when this process came to an end? The results were incredibly satisfying. He was a level 3 hero with a combat power of 5400. This number was so high that it even surpassed the record for level 3 heroes. Previously, Tsuyoshi was the highest-ranked level 3 hero, far ahead of the second place with a combat power of 930. He was quite surprised by this result himself. Tsuyoshi originally thought his combat power was only slightly higher than that of the young man who had just been tested before him. Who would have guessed it was 10 times higher? Of course, although it was a bit beyond his expectations, everything still went according to plan, so Tsuyoshi was very excited and curious about the power of the Divine Hammer. He took it out to take a look, but unfortunately the system reminded him once again that his current level and other conditions were insufficient to unlock it. The true potential of the Divine Hammer required an enormous amount of energy to forcibly unlock, and it could only be used for 1 second. But 1 second was enough for the machine to measure his combat power, and Tsuyoshi was very eager to know how much his combat power could increase if he had the Divine Hammer in hand. So he tried once more, this time putting all his effort into unleashing the power of the Divine Hammer, and the release process was successful. Tsuyoshi felt as if all his energy was drained in an instant. This feeling was quite uncomfortable. He just wanted the machine to finish measuring quickly. However, holding the hammer while measuring his combat power caused a shock far beyond Tsuyoshi's expectations, and a purple dragon seemed to appear in the night sky above the city, continuously twisting. And alongside this phenomenon, the entire city shook, not just the corporate building. The machine signaled that the energy was overloaded and could not measure Tsuyoshi's combat power. Then the electricity around suddenly went out, and an emergency announcement was quickly broadcast throughout the building. Due to the power outage, the test had to be suspended. Evacuate immediately. The supervisor hurried into the testing room to warn Tsuyoshi, who was now completely drained of energy. He was so exhausted that he looked like nothing but skin and bones, making it hard for the supervisor to recognize him. After that, Tsuyoshi dragged his weary body home, seemingly having underestimated the Divine Hammer. He never thought that all his strength could be drained in just 1 second like that. It seems he should avoid using the Divine Hammer until he truly reaches a powerful level, but then again, Tsuyoshi was genuinely happy because the main goal of the day had been achieved. He had officially become a hero. The next day in this new capacity, Tsuyoshi went to the training ground where a man named Geyer would be responsible for training him along with a few other newly minted heroes. Geyer was a level 9 warrior with a combat power of 1/200. He looked so stern that everyone was intimidated except for Tsuyoshi, who possessed the Divine Eye and could see through the opponent's information, feeling a bit disdainful. Level 9 with only 1/200 combat power. he thought to himself, wondering how much his own combat power would be when he reached level 9. As for Geyer, he clearly was not pleased with the situation. Being forced to train rookies bored him to the point where he would rather explore a level D dungeon than do this mundane task. All of you will enter the level D dungeon tomorrow. After experiencing it firsthand, you'll know which profession suits you best, and you might even find some low-level items. Geyer declared, and this information left everyone around Tsuyoshi in shock. It was understandable. They had just passed the test, and were recognized as heroes, but they didn't have any basic skills at all. The thorns in the statement and this information had left everyone around Tsuyoshi in shock, and honestly, who could blame them? They had just passed the test and were recognized as heroes, but they didn't have any basic skills at all. But don't even get me started on the combat experience. They should have had basic physical training a week prior, yet Geyer completely skipped that step, and throwing them into a D-class dungeon for basic physical training. That's just annoying. There's no time for that. You guys are heroes now, so you need to sharpen your skills. I've been there too, honing my skills through real combat. Just a heads up, this training course is really tough. If you can't handle it, then you should back out. Do you hear me? I said, do you hear me? At the end, he pushed them up high, making the new heroes too scared to say another word. Tsuyoshi found this man even more irritating, because he's just venting his anger. It seems like heroes are just human too, so having a few bad apples like this is hard to avoid. But Tsuyoshi was still in a good mood because he thought about the level 72 beast woman waiting for him once the cooldown of the infinite path was over. He would immediately use it to return to the Beastman world with her that night. Tsuyoshi went home. The news on TV was reporting about a recent earthquake that affected some areas in the city. Fortunately, there were no injuries. Tsuyoshi was the one responsible for this major disturbance. But he didn't care much because after all, the cooldown of the infinite path had ended. Tsuyoshi was eager to return to that world, to continue growing stronger there. He could even choose a profession. Gathering all the gear he needed, he thought about it and immediately opened the infinite path. When he opened his eyes, he saw the exact same scenery as when he left. Even the outfit he was wearing was just like when he first arrived, just as expected once Tsuyoshi left this world. Time here froze. What's going on? Master, a big round soul suddenly caught Tsuyoshi's eye, and he almost forgot about this beast woman. He hurriedly replied, No, it's nothing. Let's start leveling up. Please lead the way. Seeing Tsuyoshi so excited, the girl was also very happy. She said that there was a goblin den nearby and wanted to take him there to train first. However, since Tsuyoshi was only level 3 and those goblins were known to be fierce and vicious, there were quite a few of them, so they had to be extremely careful. Hearing the keyword goblin, Tsuyoshi really started to feel like he was in a fantasy world. He didn't know what the effect of the divine selection system would be. He wasn't sure, but just thinking about the upcoming goblin hunting journey made Tsuyoshi feel incredibly excited. The beast woman quickly led him to the goblin lair. Since it was night, they were sleeping with only a group of guards, half awake. Be careful not to wake the guards, the beast woman said. I'm level 72, so it should be easy to take them down, right? Tsuyoshi asked back. The divine eye not only helped him know the opponent's level, but also revealed that her combat power was 630,000. It was truly terrifying to level up with someone like her. It should be easy to take them down, right? Tsuyoshi asked back at the divine eye. Not only does it help you know the opponent's level, but it also reveals that her combat power is 630,000. That's truly terrifying to be leveling up with someone like that. Tsuyoshi felt a lot more at ease, though the other party seemed a bit surprised at how he knew his level. It's not like I became her master for no reason. Tsuyoshi deflected the question, saying that he couldn't really explain to the other person that he had a system. Then he suggested, by the way, could you show me what a battle of high-level heroes looks like? The other party didn't want to refuse. It was just that if she fought alongside Tsuyoshi, he wouldn't be able to earn any experience points. Because the level difference between the two was too great, Tsuyoshi felt a bit disappointed. He wanted to see this girl in action. Action, you're exaggerating. But if you really want to, I'll give it a try. I don't know how much help I'll be. But just watch. Saying that, she pulled a dagger from her belt. Her gaze was incredibly determined, and her speed was astonishing as she lunged forward and delivered a swift strike, successfully finishing off the monster before it even realized she was there. Tsuyoshi couldn't help but clap. Indeed, the movements of a level 72 warrior were impressive, and he praised her. The girl seemed quite pleased as well. Even though she was fighting a lower-level opponent, she always gave her best, hoping her master would find this useful. Of course it's useful. Can you teach me that move you just did? Tsuyoshi suggested, but the swift strike she just used was a skill of a high-level warrior which might not be suitable for his current strength. Moreover, Tsuyoshi hadn't yet decided on his class. Hearing her mention the choice of class made him decide. In that case, he would choose to become a warrior. Having a level 72 warrior beside him would make it easier to use copying skills without worrying about class incompatibility. But there was another issue. Tsuyoshi couldn't use the divine hammer yet, so he needed to find a weapon to replace it. Did you choose to become a warrior because of me? Then I promise I'll be useful to you. The girl seemed very moved and suddenly stepped forward, taking Tsuyoshi's hand and speaking in a very serious tone. I'll do my best to help you level up. But first let's go gather some gear for the warrior. To be honest, Tsuyoshi was an honest person, so it was only natural to glance at her chest first. And with her dressed like this, it was really hard for him to focus on what she was saying. Tsuyoshi hadn't even managed to look away. Just then, it was time for the guard shift to change. They quickly noticed the two intruders, two level 3 goblins with a combat power of 420 charging at them. This time, Tsuyoshi didn't plan to hide behind her anymore. He wanted to handle them himself. Since he didn't have a weapon, he borrowed her silver dagger. Master, fighting enemies at the same level is a bit dangerous. She still looked worried, but Tsuyoshi was determined. He hadn't fully tested the power of the heavenly shock he had copied before, so he decided to use the two goblins in front of him as test subjects. He took a deep breath, waiting for them to charge within range, then jumped high. As Tsuyoshi landed, the heavenly shock skill was unleashed. Both goblins were knocked out in one hit, leaving them with no health. The beast girl was utterly astonished that Tsuyoshi defeated two goblins of the same level in just one strike. It was indeed extraordinary because even a team of 6 level 3 characters would struggle against them. As for Tsuyoshi, he was very satisfied with the result. It seems like the divine selection system is pretty awesome. If nothing changes, you might level up to Dad tonight. Since the silver dagger is just borrowed, Tsuyoshi can't use it as a weapon forever, so after that, you can only temporarily use the wooden stick from the goblins as your weapon. That girl seems really anxious, constantly reminding Tsuyoshi that he needs to quickly gather 11 basic equipment pieces. Because his current gear has almost no defensive capability, hearing her reminders like that. Tsuyoshi became aware of reviewing his current equipment, and indeed its defense value is currently 0. Truly, without proper equipment, he can't withstand any attacks. He not only needs a weapon, but also a full set of armor. By the way, earlier, Tsuyoshi had also researched a bit about the holy storage. It's a space that exists in consciousness and isn't affected by the real world. Right now, the holy storage has 2 slots, equivalent to the ability to store 2 items. The interesting thing about it is, the items stored in here can be used in both worlds. Currently, the God King's hammer has already occupied 1 storage slot. So Tsuyoshi only has 1 slot left. But the system also said this can be developed. Therefore, when he levels up, the number of slots in the holy storage will likely expand. Even though he knows that. Having only 1 empty slot is really inconvenient when Tsuyoshi can't get rid of the God King's hammer. Moreover, in both worlds, a full set of equipment is divided into 5 parts. Just looking at that girl, you can tell those 5 parts are the head, arms, torso, thighs, and legs. Tsuyoshi just wants to use her body as an example for what a full set of equipment consists of. But I must say the charm of that beast-eared girl is truly irresistible. Tsuyoshi couldn't help but drool, wondering if there are any other races in this world besides beastmen like her. What's wrong, Master? Is there something on my face? The other person asked curiously. It's nothing. I was just checking if you could keep up with me, Tsuyoshi replied shyly, scratching his head. While he was busy grinning like a fool, danger suddenly approached from behind. That girl quickly shouted for Tsuyoshi to be careful, but at this speed he probably couldn't dodge it. So she had to draw her knife and rush in. The attackers were 3 level 4 goblins. It seems that the deeper they go, the stronger and fiercer the goblins become. But that also means the experience points gained will increase significantly. Therefore, Tsuyoshi rushed forward because he was afraid that if he let that beast girl take action, he wouldn't get any experience points. Just a little experience point lost would be a shame. Seeing that Tsuyoshi was only level 3 and was planning to solo 3 enemies at once made them unable to hold back their laughter. They mocked him, calling him a reckless fool. However, they were the ones who would pay the price for underestimating a low-level hero like him. And so, with just a wooden stick in hand, Tsukushiro successfully took down those 3 level 4 goblins. The wooden stick was broken, and he continued to pick up another one and ventured deeper, witnessing the scene just now. They look down on you, calling you a reckless fool, but in reality, they are the ones who will pay the price for underestimating a low-level hero like you and with just a wooden stick in hand, Tsukushiro successfully took down those 3 level 4 goblins. The wooden stick was broken, so he picked up another one and ventured deeper, witnessing the scene from earlier. The Beast Girl was incredibly happy because more than anyone else, she sensed the tremendous potential of Goblin's wooden staff, which was just a piece of junk, yet in his hands it created such explosive effects. Moreover, defeating 3 enemies at once with a single strike was something very few could achieve at this level. She felt she had chosen the right master. The 2 of them continued to venture deeper inside. The further they went, the more goblins appeared, and their levels increased as well, but the explosive power of Tsuyoshi made their numbers insignificant throughout this process. The sheer number of them no longer mattered. The Beast Girl didn't have to lift a finger. She just stood by, cheering him on. It's just that while Tsuyoshi's skills were impressive, this weapon was indeed falling apart. He had already switched to the 6th one. Currently, his experience points stood at 1,230 out of 3,000. Tsuyoshi didn't expect the experience rewards in this world to be so generous. He was even becoming stronger than he had anticipated. While cleaning up, he often heard heroes complain that experience from level 3 and 4 juniors barely reached 10 points. So without continuously diving into dungeons, leveling up would be a distant dream in his original world. The Hero Association required teams to enter dungeons, which meant experience points were shared, making leveling up even less effective. But in this world, Tsuyoshi could freely collect all the experience points, plus the monsters here dropped way more experience. This made Tsuyoshi extremely excited. So far, he had completed 2/3 of the journey to level 4. At this rate, he would soon charge straight to the boss. And indeed, that moment came quickly as Tsuyoshi and his alluring beast girl stood before the boss's lair. Just seeing the silhouette of the goblin boss made him feel a chill run down his spine. It seemed like it wouldn't be an easy target like the leveled ones he had just defeated. It was unfortunate that this boss had been consumed by darkness. The girl murmured about the darkness, which sent a shiver down Tsuyoshi's spine. Was there darkness in this world too, just like the darkness lurking in caves in his original world? A question immediately popped into his mind. Could they be the same entity? The goblin looked just like the one that had taken his parents' lives. Could they be the same one? Just thinking about it made Tsuyoshi so angry that his hands trembled involuntarily while the girl next to him didn't notice and continued to chatter about how enemies possessed by darkness would become incredibly powerful. This boss, although only level 6, would see its power exponentially increase when consumed by darkness. Darkness not only had terrifying strength, but its very existence was shrouded in mystery. Therefore, I will handle this boss myself, Tsuyoshi declared, boldly cutting her off. He knew it was dangerous, but just thinking about the entity standing before him now could very well be the one that killed his parents and ruined Karina's life, made him furious. He didn't know what connection they had to the worlds, but he wanted to end them with his own hands. Whether now or in the future, without waiting for her to respond, Tsuyoshi dashed out from his hiding spot, quickly using a surprise attack with his celestial strike. He didn't know what connection they had with the worlds, but he wanted to end them with his own hands. Whether now or in the future, without waiting for that girl to respond, Tsuyoshi dashed out from his hiding place quickly, using the heavenly strike as a surprise attack. With the hope of finishing it off in just one blow, all of Tsuyoshi's hatred was concentrated into this strike. But unfortunately, it only caused the opponent to lose about 25% of its health. After that, Tsuyoshi was thrown back by the Dark Goblin. Its strength was indeed much greater than he had imagined, and he landed face first with a heavy impact. His whole body was in pain, blood continuously oozing from the corner of his mouth, and then the monster opened its mouth, a long, bright red tongue darting out. Seeing that the beast girl couldn't help but stare in shock. She rushed forward like an arrow, the master of the weapon, but Tsuyoshi didn't expect her to save him. The boss wanted to kill Tsuyoshi, but just thinking about the fact that it was the one who took his parents away and made Karina wheelchair-bound for life was enough for him to refuse to let it take his life. His weapon had been knocked away, but that didn't mean Tsuyoshi would give up. He immediately called on the system to help him activate his extraordinary body in an instant. The muscles in his body were enhanced, and the strength that Tsuyoshi possessed quickly surged, mainly focusing on his right arm, while the system also warned him of what was to come. Tsuyoshi had to endure extreme pain and stress, but he didn't care because now all he thought about was finishing off that monster. At this moment, his body had become the sharpest weapon, and that punch from Tsuyoshi truly knocked down the boss. After defeating it, the feeling of exhaustion quickly set in. Tsuyoshi felt as if his right arm no longer belonged to him. But it was all right. He had earned 1,000 experience points to level up and achieve the first step of the accomplishment he had always desired, which was to eliminate all the dark creatures in this world. Looking at his somewhat battered arm, Tsuyoshi's beast ears couldn't hide their worry. The system had to alert him that his right arm was severely injured. If he didn't get treatment quickly, it would become necrotic. His body was now shaking violently from the pain. Attention, you can freely adjust your body parts and enhance the strongest body. But since you focused all your strength on your right arm, you couldn't bear the energy load anymore. The system sent a new notification. But at this point, Tsuyoshi was in so much pain that he fainted. The beast girl hurriedly caught him, then laid Tsuyoshi on her lap and took out medicine from her bag to treat him for about an hour. Finally, he felt a bit better. Tsuyoshi realized that although the recovery speed here was slower than in his original world, the effectiveness was extremely good. Perhaps the medicine of this world has a longer history. Now he could move his right arm smoothly, even feeling stronger and healthier than before. Since the medicine worked well, the beast girl was also very happy. After seeing that Tsuyoshi was okay, she urged him to quickly claim his reward since the boss had been defeated. If she hadn't reminded him, Tsuyoshi would have almost forgotten about the reward he had risked his life to obtain. In addition, because Tsuyoshi defeated the boss in the shortest time, he received an additional reward. This type of reward was upgraded from a partial reward to a full reward. Looking at the dark treasure in front of him, the beast girl's eyes immediately lit up. It was no wonder dark equipment was extremely rare here. They were items that were even rarely found at auctions. All the effort this time was just to exchange for that reward. So when he touched the treasure, Tsuyoshi felt incredibly happy. He opened the lid and a blinding light burst forth, but before he could see what was inside, Tsuyoshi slammed it shut, realizing that he only had one item slot left in his divine storage. I wonder if the whole outfit counts as a single item, since putting it in the storage would only take up one slot. He pondered that to himself. Because if there's no more space left, that would be a headache. Luckily, it's a complete set of gear. It counts as one slot, and so the Dark Goblin outfit was added to his divine storage, allowing Tsuyoshi to take it out whenever he wanted. This feeling was like hitting the jackpot. Tsuyoshi couldn't stop smiling. "Why are you smiling so much, Master?" the beast girl asked curiously. "Oh, it's nothing. I'm just admiring my full set of rewards," he replied, scratching his head. Then he asked, "By the way, do you know how to sew?" The other person immediately smiled brightly and nodded, saying that all her clothes from childhood to now were made by her, and she even had a sewing kit with her. Not long after that, Tsuyoshi had a brand new tank top that fit him perfectly, much better than the work outfit he had been wearing since he first arrived here. Everything was progressing well. With Tsuyoshi leveling up and having enough gear, it was time for him to return to his original world. So he told the girl that they should rest for the night to recover, and after she fell asleep, he quietly opened the infinite path back to Earth. Although he was exhausted, he felt relatively satisfied since he had collected a lot of interesting things this time. Now he needed to rest a bit because he was already worn out from that world. The next day was the first time Tsuyoshi entered a cave in his original world before leaving. He equipped the Dark Goblin outfit, which granted him a special skill called Tentacle Roar. When activated, this skill would cause all low-level enemies within hearing range to freeze in place, while the user's hands transformed into gigantic dark tentacles. Dealing lethal damage, Tsuyoshi couldn't help but exclaim that this outfit was truly amazing, especially with the special skill. It seemed like things were about to get exciting. However, there was one issue that concerned him. This outfit looked too flashy, and he was sure he would get into trouble if he wore it outside, since other heroes would notice. Tsuyoshi had heard that many heroes wouldn't hesitate to kill just to steal gear, and a rookie like him wearing this would definitely be in their sights. While feeling discouraged, he scrolled through the status bar to check the details of the outfit, and then discovered something wonderful. This gear had a stealth effect. It helped conceal the gear and turned it into a regular outfit. Tsuyoshi had no reason not to activate this effect. He pressed Z and the entire goblin outfit vanished. But in reality, its effects remained intact. Now the most challenging problem had been solved, and with a few minutes left before the meeting, Tsuyoshi planned to go buy some bread. Suddenly, his phone in his pocket vibrated. As he answered, the person on the other end panicked and said repeatedly, "Is this Karina's brother? I'm the head nurse at the hospital. A scary group of people just arrived at the hospital and are demanding to take Karina away. They say she owes money. Please come here right away. Upon hearing this, Tsuyoshi face changed dramatically. The money borrowing was true because he had no other choice for his sister to stay in the hospital. He just didn't understand why those people suddenly came to demand to take her away. While he was still paying off the debt weekly as agreed, Tsuyoshi didn't have time to think much and instructed the head nurse not to let anyone touch Karina. Grab the girl! While he was still paying off the weekly dues as agreed, Tsuyoshi didn't have time to think much and instructed the head nurse not to let anyone touch Karina. But on the phone, it seemed like a complete mess, and then the call got cut off. Tsuyoshi was so furious that he crushed the phone in his hand. He couldn't even think about the first training session in the cave today. With the skills he had, Tsuyoshi rushed straight to the hospital. There, Karina was struggling immensely. She was both pleading and crying, begging these people not to touch her, but of course it was all in vain. "What do you want from me?" Karina asked helplessly through her tears. "You have no idea, but we have our reasons for taking you away. Your brother borrowed money and didn't pay it back on time, so I'm going to take you as per our agreement," said a guy covered in gold, his face already showing he was a thug. He presented the debt paper right in front of poor Karina. In fact, from the very beginning when he lent money to Tsuyoshi, he had no good intentions. The only reason he agreed was that his rich kid really liked her. Even though Karina's legs were paralyzed, it didn't affect her beauty at all. In fact, her inability to walk only pleased those rich guys even more, and Karina would definitely bring in a lot of money on the black market when this scumbag made a contract. He had also set a trap for Tsuyoshi, but it seemed that Tsuyoshi was too desperate to realize it, and Karina was just a kid after all, so he could control her however he wanted. My brother would never sign a contract like that. You guys tricked him. Karina struggled, but even if she found out about it, so what? These bastards were still ready to twist the truth to achieve their wicked goals. The guy said that Tsuyoshi's weekly payments weren't even enough to cover the interest, so he would never be able to pay off the principal. To put it bluntly, this debt would never be settled, so they were just taking Karina according to the agreement. As he spoke, he squeezed Karina's chin tightly and threatened her directly, saying that if she cooperated, they would treat her gently, but if she refused, she shouldn't blame them for being ruthless. Got it. Looking at his wicked smile, Karina truly felt despair. However, just then, the hospital room door was burst open by someone and Tsuyoshi appeared outside the door. With a face clearly showing his anger, he growled each word. "You better be ready." Tsuyoshi opened the hospital room door in fury, bending it to the point that it was unrecognizable. Standing in front of the loan sharks, Takashi at that moment was at Level 4 warrior class equipped with a dark link suit, special skill, tentacle roar weapon. None skill, no skill experience, not over 6000. When Takashi saw that it was Tsuyoshi, he turned to look at his sister Karina, who was sitting in a wheelchair. Upon seeing her brother, she instinctively exclaimed, "Brother!" Takashi stood there with his hands in his pockets glancing at him, then said, "Finally decided to show up, huh?" He turned around to stand in front of Tsuyoshi and boldly said, "Why do you look so angry? Isn't this what we agreed on? After all, you don't need a crippled sister like her." As soon as Takashi finished speaking, Tsuyoshi lunged at him and punched him. One punch from Tsuyoshi not only broke his glasses, but also knocked out a tooth. Takashi could only manage to utter one word, "right." Tsuyoshi punched him again, and this time Takashi fell backward, spinning 360 degrees. Tsuyoshi's body was covered in veins from anger, and his eyes glowed with a red light. The system then displayed a notification to him, the strongest part of the body-leg enhancement and increased movement speed. After spinning around, Takashi knocked over a pile of items in the hospital room. Then he fell down. Two bodyguards following him, one ran over to check if Takashi was okay. While shaking him, he called out, "Boss!" The bald guy, the other one, rushed toward Tsuyoshi, cursing at him, "You little brat!" The bald guy charged at Tsuyoshi, yelling loudly while raising his fist to strike. The bald guy's punch came at him, but Tsuyoshi ducked to avoid it. The next second, you put all your strength into your arm to counter the punch, but his arm got injured and he cried out in pain. Taiga clutched his injured arm. Sitting on the ground, Isuki was already helping Takashi to stand up. Takashi, with a furious expression, reached into his shirt and pulled something out. Gritting his teeth, he spat out each word, "No one has dared to challenge me before." He pulled out a gun, aimed it straight at Tsuyoshi, and said, "You dare to challenge the Green Snake Gang. You're the first one." After Takashi spoke, he fired the gun, shouting loudly, "Die, Karina!" The girl saw the bullet flying towards her brother and panicked, her eyes welling up with tears, her voice trembling. The bullet was flying towards him, but Tsuyoshi didn't dodge. He kept his head down in silence, using his bare hands to catch the bullet. Karina saw her brother become so strong like that. In an instant, she held on to Takashi and his two henchmen, who were also wide-eyed in shock at the scene. Izuki, who was supporting Takashi, spoke up. "He just caught the bullet with his bare hands," Taiga chimed in, unable to believe it. Tsuyoshi was radiating a tremendous power at that moment. He clenched his fist and said, "After all, I'm a hero!" The system displayed that his body was the strongest. His bare hands couldn't be harmed by ordinary weapons. Hearing him say that, Takashi and his crew shrank back, huddling together, their voices trembling. Hero. In the hallway, the head nurse had called the security team. She hurriedly said, "There are some loan sharks threatening patients and my brother. Hurry up!" As the head nurse and the security team reached the door, they were taken aback by the scene inside the room. The three loan sharks had been beaten up badly. All three had a friendly demeanor. Takashi was still smiling, saying to Tsuyoshi, "Please wrap it up in one go as soon as you can. If you delay, my young master, you, the hero, won't let it go easily. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm sorry for bothering you." The three of them left, dragging themselves away. As they reached the hallway, they saw the nurse and security, and they politely raised their hands to wave, saying, "We're leaving now." After they left, Takashi's eyes were filled with hatred. He immediately thought, "That kid has become a hero. Damn it, I have to report this to the boss. Otherwise, the plan to catch that kid will fall apart." The boss has incredible power. He's a level 10 warrior with a combat power of 200-300. Takashi speculated in his mind. The boss is a level 10 warrior. Looking at it, the kid is just a rookie. We will eliminate him. In the hospital room, Karina sat in a wheelchair looking at her brother and speaking up. They have left, and Tsuyoshi was tidying up the room. He held a towel in his hand and softly said, "I'm sorry for not being able to visit you often." He sat down next to the wheelchair and continued. "They have a scheme. If we don't pay them soon, the Green Snake Gang will come back. I've spent the last few days thinking of ways to pay them, but now I'm a hero. Don't worry anymore, okay?" The girl, hearing her brother say that, asked, "Are you really a hero?" Tsuyoshi took out his hero card. His sister's eyes widened in admiration as he said to Karina, "But I'm just an apprentice for now. I will officially be a hero once I enter the dungeon today." After leaving the hospital, Tsuyoshi was alone, pondering that he had borrowed 60,000 from the Green Snake Gang to treat Karina. If he slowly earns money in this world, it would take a very long time. Even if he becomes an official hero, the only solution is to sell all his hero equipment on this long, cold road. Tonight will come to an end. I'm finally an official hero now. Transitioning to a forest scene, the group of heroes is gathered here ready to enter the Thorny Dungeon. The Thorny Warrior at level 9 with a combat power of 1-200 stands in front of the teleport gate asking if everyone is ready. He crosses his arms and declares that today, you all will be tested on your skills to see if you're worthy of becoming official heroes. There are a few important rules. You must surrender all the hero gear you find in the cave. The crowd around him listens intently. They all respond in unison while Tsuyoshi stands quietly in a corner pondering if he's heard this before. It seems the Hero Association is turning a blind eye to this. Surely there's not much in this low-level cave. Gao, still standing above, raises a hand to encourage the heroes, assuring them that the test will be easy. As long as you follow my instructions, passing the test will be a breeze. He raises a finger and boldly continues to become an official hero. Each person must pay me 20,000 yen. The Thorny Warrior stands with his hands behind his back, loudly reminding everyone to be clear on this. The crowd below hurriedly reaches into their pockets, starting to gather the money, responding, "Yes." Tsuyoshi hears him lay down such unreasonable rules. Unhappy, he raises his hand to ask, "Why do we have to pay you extra? Didn't you already take all the gear from the cave? That means we won't have any money left." A kind young man wearing glasses behind him chimes in, reminding Tsuyoshi not to go against what he said. A member of the Wolf Guild, hearing this, notices Tsuyoshi being reminded like that. In an instant, he understands, thinking that he has backing. No wonder he's so brazenly asking for money. But even if I have to die, I won't give money to a bully like him. Everyone at this moment steps aside as Gayer stands tall in front of Tsuyoshi, raising his voice. "Because that's my rule," he says with a mocking tone, looking at Tsuyoshi with a sneer. "If you can't come up with 20,000 yen, then just sign up for the solo test." He says this outwardly, but internally thinks, "Can't you understand such simple logic? What a fool. I don't care about you anymore," he hears Gayer say that. The crowd below starts to murmur about the solo test, saying, "No apprentice has ever passed it. Even the strongest heroes wouldn't enter the cave alone." "You idiot, you'll face the wrath of the examiner just for 20,000 yen. Tsuyoshi pays no mind to the chatter around him, raises both hands, shrugs, and replies. "So I can register for the solo test? That's convenient." Hearing Tsuyoshi's response, Gayer and everyone else are a bit incredulous that he would do that. At this moment in the forest, someone speaks up asking, "Are you serious?" Tsuyoshi is warming up, preparing for the test, while the person next to him is still rambling. "You must be mistaken. Let me check again, it's Ryota." He looks at the tablet, confirming once more, unable to believe it. "No one has ever passed that test. Not a single person, even for the sea-level cave test of the Hero Association, but for an apprentice, it's like a self-destruct mission." Tsuyoshi is still warming up, casually responding, "Thanks for the advice, you're not wrong. Please let me go." After finishing his warm-up, Tsuyoshi quickly steps into the teleport gate, not forgetting to tell Ryota, "I'm heading in now." He holds the tablet in his hand, watching Tsuyoshi go in alone, trembling in disbelief. It was crazy after you stepped through the teleport gate and arrived on the other side. The system immediately displayed a confirmation message for the trainee test, confirming Tsukishiro's registration for the single test of Cave-type Forest Level C, recommending participation. 5 or more people with an average combat power of 600 or more. Tsuyoshi stood in front of the vast forest, observing while mumbling to himself that he had only seen caves before. After the hero cleared out the dark creatures, this was the original appearance of a cave. Suddenly, a red dot flashed before Tsuyoshi's eyes, and he quickly realized a monster jumped out holding a wooden stick. It swung the stick at him, but unexpectedly the stick broke in half. Tsuyoshi turned around, feeling a surge of power as the system displayed his level. Level 4 warrior class equipped with dark creature gear, special skill, tentacle roar, no weapon, no skill copied, heavenly shock combat value, 6,400. His eyes lit up with anger as he said, "That kind of surprise attack won't hurt me, experience not over 6,000. He looked at the monster before him. Instantly, he knew the information level 3 dark goblin with a combat power of 640. Tsuyoshi wasted no words as he yanked the stick from the goblin's hand, leaving it stunned. After grabbing the stick, he used it to hit the monster, not forgetting to say, "This dark goblin is pretty strong." His power erupted, enveloping his entire body, and his eyes sparkled with light. Tsuyoshi thought, "But compared to my combat power of 6,400, you're just a mosquito." After easily taking down the first goblin, he dusted off his hands and mumbled, "I knew it! The experience from enemies in the real world isn't even half of what it is here." No wonder the heroes are so slow to progress. The system displayed experience 20 out of 6,000. Tsuyoshi then coldly said, "Stop hiding and come at me all at once." As soon as he finished speaking, a group of goblins, big and small, hiding around, jumped out. Tsuyoshi began to use his armor, slowly covering himself, thinking this was the perfect moment. Once the armor was complete, Tsuyoshi tilted his head back and shouted loudly as the goblins charged in, wanting to tear him apart, but he used the tentacle roar skill from his armor. Inflicting injuries while crazily eliminating the goblins, he shouted, "Come on, all of you!" Outside the teleport gate, Ryota was still intently observing on his tablet. He pushed up his glasses and said, "It's been almost an hour. If you've persisted for this long, that's more than enough." He continued talking to himself. "Aren't you afraid at all no rookie would normally take a single test? The association will soon eliminate this test. Just a few more minutes. This young rookie's performance will be recorded." He looked up at the teleport gate and exclaimed, "The results of the single test are in." Tsuyoshi Tsukishiro passed. Tsuyoshi stepped out from inside his body covered in mud, and the system simultaneously displayed level 4 warrior class equipped with dark creature gear. Special skill tentacle roar, no weapon, no skill copied, heavenly shock, combat power 6,400. Tsuyoshi raised his hand to his neck, shyly asking Ryota, "Excuse me, is there anywhere nearby to wash my face?" The system showed experience 960 out of 6,000. From another side of the teleport gate, the spikes, along with other heroes, had also come out. He walked ahead constantly, shouting loudly, "If I weren't here, you all would have been dead long ago. You can't even support an attack and still become a hero. 20,000 is too cheap." His system also displayed his level at 9 combat power 1,200 warrior class. The people following him looked dejected, whispering to each other, "Didn't the teacher tell us not to interfere? You also rejected my offer. Supporting with healing magic, and now you're not satisfied with 20,000. Moreover, this is the first time in a cave, and there was hardly any explanation." Supporting with healing magic, he was now dissatisfied with 20,000, and this was his first time in a cave with almost no explanation. It's outrageous to take your anger out on me. Lower your voice. What's wrong? You've already passed. Gao noticed that the others seemed dissatisfied, so he turned his head to warn them, reminding them that at his level he should have been charged 40,000. I'm already being generous by charging only 20,000. Saying that, he turned away. At that moment, a call came in, and he immediately pressed the device on his ear to answer, I'm listening. Hero Test Center. I'm busy, get straight to the point. After hearing, he immediately widened his eyes, his face contorted in disbelief, exclaiming, What that guy? Passed the solo test. Ridiculous Tsuyoshi was washing his hands when a voice rang out asking him, How did you pass the solo test? Answer me now. The thorny man stood not far away, arms crossed, continuing, I've looked into it. But you're just a level 4 rookie. Tsuyoshi was still bowing his head, wiping his face, not paying attention. Gao saw that he didn't respond and continued. You used a high-grade item, didn't you? No rookie has ever passed the solo test before. After cleaning off the mud, Tsuyoshi replied calmly, Just because no one has done it before doesn't mean it's impossible. Maybe it was because you were charged 20,000, Gao said as he heard him. He lunged forward, grabbing Tsuyoshi by the collar, angrily shouting, You're mocking me. Answer before you regret it. I'm a member of the Lazy Wolf Club. Tsuyoshi remained still, staring directly into his eyes without any hesitation despite the level 9 and combat power of 1,200. He didn't look like someone from a formidable gang at all. Being insulted like that only made him angrier. He raised his fist, threatening Tsuyoshi. Who do you think you are to disrespect me? Tsuyoshi immediately reacted. Using his own hand, he caught the powerful fist, gripping the man's hand tightly, his voice cold. Are you trying to defeat me with your level 9 fist? With Tsuyoshi catching his fist, the man trembled slightly, his face changing color as he thought about this strength and speed. Unbelievable, he's only level 4. Tsuyoshi let go of his hand, and for a moment the man didn't know what to say. He saw Tsuyoshi relax his guard around him. The man then pulled out a knife hidden behind his back, raising both hands as if wanting to explain, Wait a minute. But at that moment he couldn't wait any longer and immediately swung the knife towards him. What are you hiding? Reflexively, Tsuyoshi raised his arm to block it. Luckily, the armor activated just in time. The Dark Link suit provided defensive effects and superhuman body capabilities. The knife struck Tsuyoshi's armor and was corroded instantly. He looked at the knife in his hand, stammering, It broke. Is this a human body? He immediately turned to Tsuyoshi and asked, You're hiding equipment, aren't you? It must be high-level equipment. Tsuyoshi looked at the wound on his arm and silently thought, Oh no, I've accidentally revealed my abilities. It would be very troublesome if people in this world discovered my secret. Not seeing Tsuyoshi respond, the old man looked at him with a cunning gaze and continued to ask, What do you have? It must be something very valuable. Did you find it in a cave or did you steal it? Tsuyoshi heard him say that. You turned away, pretending to be scared, letting out a sigh of fear. You hugged your arms and started acting dramatically, shouting that if it weren't for that old dagger, it would have been really dangerous. Ryota, who had been watching all this time, finally spoke up. Sorry for making you wait, Suki said as he went to retrieve Min's body. With this, you officially became the hero, Tsuyoshi, immediately avoiding Gale's gaze and turning to Ryota, saying, I understand, I'll go right away. You turned your back and left. Guy stood there walking while putting on a pitiful act. Tsuyoshi thought to himself, thank goodness he won't pull that stunt in front of the staff. Guy watched as Tsuyoshi and Ryota walked away. He broke into a chilling smile, his face clearly showing his desire for what Tsuyoshi had. Tsuyoshi followed Ryota as they left. You still felt something was off, but you couldn't quite put your finger on it. You glanced back at Guy, silently calculating in your heart that thanks to the system, your combat power was higher than a normal level 4. But facing a high-level enemy was still a bit difficult. As night fell, Tsuyoshi lay on his bed remembering Sakura from the world beyond. You felt restless, sensing that Guy had you in his sights. There was no girl with animal ears in this world. Your level was still low, so you had to avoid attracting attention. Outside Tsuyoshi's house, 2 figures were lurking. One was a cloaked boss who quietly asked, Is this the place? He held a staff with a red gem. He was a member of the Lazy Wolf Guild level 10, a wizard with a combat power of 3,500. He said, after we break the door, use magic to immobilize him so we can take him away. The other one was Gayer holding a sharp knife, his long tongue full of greed. We'll share his stuff later. Kazero said, wielding the staff while casting spells and reminding him. Don't make noise or we'll draw attention. Both of them laughed cunningly. Kazero then said, First break the chain with magic and prepare. He started casting a spell on Tsuyoshi house. Just as he cast the spell, the door swung open, and Tsuyoshi stepped out fiercely, holding a wooden stick that looked very intimidating. The two of them were caught off guard. They didn't expect it and were frightened. Tsuyoshi was now using a level 4 Melting Flame, a warrior class equipped with dark gear and special skills. Tentacle's roared weapon skills activated no skill copied with a combat power of 6,400. Your eyes turned red veins bulging on your face as you gritted your teeth, cursing, You bastards are quick, aren't you? You immediately used your strength to strike Kazero, still cursing, I'll make you pay, Tsuyoshi, while you were angry but still thought carefully. There was also a level 10 wizard with him, combat power 3,500, but the 6th level difference made a direct confrontation quite disadvantageous. After taking a painful hit, Tsuyoshi instinctively ran towards Guy. Tsuyoshi stood at the door looking at the two of them. In your mind, you kept thinking that combat power was a visual indicator to assess a hero's capability. Your combat power was 6,400, but you were only level 4. If the difference was about 2 levels, you could still manage, but even if your opponent was level 10 with lower combat power, they could still make up for it with the level difference. To put it in APG's terms, it was like a low-level warrior fighting a high-level boss but weak. Should I run away relying on my gear and skills, but if I fail, I would lose immediately? Kazero finally regained his senses, staggering back and shouting, Are you planning to ambush me? Luckily, I reinforced my defenses for my cloak. I'll kill you and quickly take your stuff. As soon as he finished speaking, he unleashed his fire magic with his staff. On the other side, Tsuyoshi was burned by the flames. He stepped back a few paces, gritting his teeth, thinking, It's too hot. This gear is strong against physical attacks but can't withstand magic. Swinging a staff in a cave is completely different from fighting a goblin. Instantly, he turned and ran for his life. He had to escape immediately. Facing him head-on would mean defeat. Seeing him run away, Kazero shouted, Chase him! Tsuyoshi dashed down the corridor, finally leaping out of the hole without hesitation, falling from a height. Tsuyoshi was still thinking about how to respond. He would focus on enhancing his body, especially his legs. With the defensive capability of the dark gear, he could withstand the impact when landing. With that thought, Tsuyoshi activated his superhuman body enhancement system, concentrating on both legs. Note that other parts of his body would not be protected. As Tsuyoshi was falling, a burly figure suddenly flew in, targeting him. He rushed in and kicked Tsuyoshi, who immediately realized it was an ambush. This guy was Tatsuru, a level 12 member of the Lazy Wolf Guild, a warrior with a combat power of 3,900. His eyes burned red as he looked at Tsuyoshi, grinning with delight. Got you? You didn't think there was a third person, did you? As soon as he finished speaking, Tatsuru used all his strength to slam both hands into Tsuyoshi. He laughed boastfully. Anyway, this is such a waste on someone like you. After his blow, Tsuyoshi fell to the ground, creating a massive explosion. Tsuyoshi hit the ground, creating a large dent where he landed. As he struggled to get up, he thought, Thank goodness I enhanced my whole body before hitting the ground. He took a direct hit to the knee because he had removed the protective layer from his abdomen when he fell. However, thanks to the dark gear, the damage was minimized. He groaned and crawled back up. One of them ran over, shouting, You're still alive. Tatsuru stood there as Kazero returned, saying, What skill did you use to attack me earlier? How can a rookie have that? Tsuyoshi's veins bulged as he activated the goblin armor, wrapping it around his entire body. His eyes filled with hatred as he thought, If you want to kill me, I'll do the same. His system displayed level 4 warrior class equipped with dark gear special skill, tentacle roar weapon none skill copying heavenly shock. Combat power 6,400 experience 960 out of 6,000. Tsuyoshi shouted loudly as he unleashed his ultimate skill, tentacle roar. Instantly, bullets shot out and the group was pushed back by the terrifying destructive power. They were also pushed back and he immediately cast a spell to restrict movement. This spell allowed him to prevent any movement from the target. For a duration of 5 seconds, if the target's level is lower than the user's, their movement can be forced to stop. Tsuyoshi realized he couldn't use his armor. He gritted his teeth, watching his trembling hands. Damn it, my skill is canceled. The three of them saw he couldn't move and quickly rushed toward him. Kazero spoke first. At this level, huh? You have that skill, which means you must have something valuable. Tatsuru added gleefully. If we kill you, we'll get to share your gear. Just then, The ring on Tsuyoshi hand sent a notification to him announcing that the countdown for the Infinity Ring had ended. He could use the Infinity Path. Looking at the ring on his hand, Tsuyoshi thought, "Heaven has saved me." At the moment the three rushed at him, he immediately opened the Infinity Path. He stepped through the teleport gate, not forgetting to leave a message for the three of them. "I'll remember this. I'll come back stronger. That will be the real battle." As he entered the other world, Tsuyoshi sat on the ground, overjoyed, thinking, "I've escaped. This time I need to level up and learn new skills. I rely too much on good gear. Without supporting skills, I'll be robbed of my destiny." At that moment, he turned to look and spoke up. This guy couldn't help but blush and have a nosebleed at the sight of the beast girl still sleeping, realizing that it was indeed bedtime. Tsuyoshi was quietly watching the girl with ears sleeping, a pleasant scent wafting from her, instantly reminding him of cherry blossoms. She always smelled like cherries, and for a moment he found it hard to control himself and had some inappropriate thoughts. If he didn't do anything, he wouldn't be a man anymore. His system screen displayed a super body, adrenaline spiking, muscles relaxing, and strength enhancing. Speed and other important aspects of the body flashed in his mind, but the image of three lazy wolf guys chasing him pulled him back to reality. Tsuyoshi immediately knelt down on the bed, reminding himself that this was not the time for that. First, he had to get through the crisis of the original world, calm down, and plan for leveling up and acquiring skills. The next morning, the beast girl woke up. She stretched her arms, yawning, still dazed, and said it had been a long time since she had such a good sleep. She looked over at Tsuyoshi, who had dark circles under his eyes, clearly unable to sleep due to restlessness. He smiled at her and said, "I slept well too. Can you make me another outfit? Then we'll set off." After finishing everything in the morning, Tsuyoshi went into the forest with the beast girl. As they walked, she told him that to learn skills, he needed a skill scroll. In short, he had to study at the combat academy after a while of walking. Finally, the two arrived at the small combat academy of the beastmen. From a distance, a beastman with a huge nose ring waved at them, saying, "You're the human that the Beast King is interested in, right? However, there are conditions to participate in this academy. First, you must reach level 6 to take the exam. You're only level 4. It's too early for you to participate." Hearing this, Tsuyoshi felt a bit impatient. "What a hassle," the beast girl said as she approached him. "I'm sorry I haven't trained in a cave for a long time, so I didn't expect there to be such conditions." Tsuyoshi felt a bit reassured by her words. "It's okay, I need to level up too. I'll come back later," he replied as the two turned to leave. The beast girl softly told him, "Then you can level up in the nearby low-level cave." Watching the two leave, the beastman couldn't help but sneer. "Look at this lowly human. The beastmen don't recognize you. If it weren't for the Beast King's orders, you would have been torn apart by now. Even if you reach level 6, you still won't pass the exam. Bringing along a mutt like you two are a perfect match." Hearing his words, the girl felt a bit guilty, realizing it was her fault for being too kind-hearted and forgetting her place. It would be a hassle to stay by his side, and her face was filled with sadness. She continued to think that she didn't want to cause trouble for her master, needing to explain everything clearly and say goodbye. Suddenly, Tsuyoshi seemed to understand her feelings through her expression. He immediately clenched his fists and turned back to the beastman, catching the girl off guard as she called out, "Master!" Tsuyoshi approached and grabbed the beastman by the collar, lifting him up with a powerful voice. "What did you just say, you bastard? Do you want to get your mouth ripped apart?" He looked at him with a deadly glare, enunciating each word, "Apologize to her." The beastman, still unafraid, shouted back, "I'm just speaking the truth. She's a mix between a human and a beast." In other words, she's a half-beast man, not truly one of us, and doesn't even have a proper name. The system displayed a glossary about half-beast men. They are not pure beastmen and are often seen as a disgrace by beastmen being the offspring of other species and beastmen who value lineage. Beastmen are looked down upon everywhere and considered inferior regardless of their position or rank. They are rejected by both genders of their kind. Enduring a painful fate, Tsuyoshi now understands that she is a descendant of both humans and beastmen, which explains everything from before. Even when I used my divine sight to look, I still couldn't see her name. She never had one from the start. Tsuyoshi is gripping Gravo by the collar, and he still arrogantly mocks the human boy. "Don't get too full of yourself just because the Beast King is paying attention to you. If you offend a Beastman warrior, I will punish you fairly. I might even make you apologize to her. If you pass the exam, but I don't think a tiny human like you can do it." His words left Tsuyoshi and the girl with beast ears silent. After a few seconds, she saw Tsuyoshi blush because of her and urged, "Master, is that really true?" "You don't need to involve someone like me. Let Draco go," she exclaimed. Sakura looked at Draco with a disdainful gaze and said her name is Sakura. "Remember this girl with ears," she said shyly, thinking, "Sakura is the name you gave me, right?" Master Tsuyoshi ignored Dravo standing frozen and turned to look at Sakura. "Remember what you said earlier. If I pass, you will have to apologize properly." After saying that, he confidently draped his arm over her shoulder and walked away. "Sakura, let's level up." In the lush green forest, Tsuyoshi already had a knife in hand and said to Sakura, who was standing next to him, "Beastmen foxes are rare. All right, let's go level up with them." Sakura, still feeling shy, looked at Tsuyoshi and softly asked, "Master, why did you name me Sakura?" Hearing her ask like that, he looked confused and raised his hand to pat her head, replying, "You don't like it, I just thought of it suddenly." She was afraid he would misunderstand, so she quickly waved her hands. "No, I really like it." She lowered her gaze bashfully, asking, "I just want to know why you chose that name." Tsuyoshi also felt shy, scratching his cheek, then said, "This is a bit embarrassing. You always have a faint scent of cherry blossoms, so I thought Sakura would suit you." "I'm sorry for being so conceited." He had just finished speaking when Sakura ran up and hugged him from behind. "Thank you, Master." Sakura beamed with happiness and said, "I really like this name." "Sakura, my name?" Seeing her so happy, Tsuyoshi blushed and scratched his head. "It's nothing." After a while, the two stood in front of the ice cave, and Tsuyoshi spoke up. "Shall we begin?" As Sakura entered, she whispered to Tsuyoshi, "The dagger I gave you earlier fits perfectly right." He firmly held the knife in his hand, thinking that it wasn't a high-level item, but much better than the Goblin's Club. Tsuyoshi swung the knife a few times. Then he replied to Sakura, "Yeah, I'm fine. I can lift that hammer so all weapons feel light." His system displayed level 4 class warrior equipped with dark link gear. Weapon club, no skills skill, copied divine shock power 6400 at this moment. A bunch of fiery red eyes in the cave were watching every move of the two. A group of beastmen foxes appeared, each one muscular. The system immediately informed that beastmen foxes move faster and are smarter than ordinary beastmen. Adventurers who underestimate them will regret it. Level 5 combat power 720. Tsuyoshi was unfazed. He glanced at her and said, "Sakura, step back and guide me as before. I want to experience this, so don't interfere." Hearing him, she obediently complied, "Yes, Master." The system continued to send reminders to Tsuyoshi to limit the party mode if on schedule. If the level difference between the highest and lowest in the group exceeds 5, no experience or items will be gained in battle. Tsuyoshi grasped the information. He charged forward. "Let's go try the new challenge." Sakura stood behind, continuously reminding him, "The beastmen foxes are very agile, so avoid their area attacks." Tsuyoshi rushed in to attack the foxes, swinging his knife while thinking about how fast they were. The foxes didn't wait to die. They immediately grabbed sharp pieces of ice to fight back. Tsuyoshi stomped hard on the stone ground, instantly activating his superhuman body, concentrating his physical strength into a specific point, significantly increasing his physical resistance. The foxes saw his overwhelming power. They were scared out of their wits. His body was completely unharmed by their attacks. At that moment, he spoke up, "With this kind of fighting power, you can't scratch me anymore." Sakura watched from a distance, her eyes filled with pride. The defense of her master was indeed worthy of being chosen by the divine hammer. Low-level enemies were nothing to him. He would level up quickly. In no time, Yoshi had beaten the foxes to a pulp. He swung his knife and mumbled, "For agile opponents, speed is more important than strength." He understood that his experience was continuously increasing. He looked at the knife in his hand and told himself that in this world, leveling up could happen very quickly, and there was no need to fight over resources since he had exclusive access to the experience system. At this point, it displayed information level 4 warrior class. Equipped with no weapons, just a dagger skills, none skill copy, heavenly strike experience, 1,860 out of 6,000, combat power 6,400. Yoshi was amazed at how fast it was going. He kept thinking that with this speed, the three enemies had a maximum combat power of 3,900, but they were level 12. No matter how high his combat power was, the level difference made it impossible. He noted the information of all three members of the Lazy Wolf Guild, Gayer level 9, warrior class combat power 1,200. Kajero level 10, mage class combat power 3,500, and Tsuru level 12, warrior class combat power 3,900. Yoshi thought again that he was at a significant disadvantage. Considering their skills, it would be tough to win. He had to close the level gap and acquire 4 skills. After defeating the foxes, Yoshi said to Sakura, "Let's level up to 6 all at once, okay, Sakura? I will make that arrogant beastman bow down." Seeing his determination, she replied a bit dazed, "Yes." The two of them headed straight to where the beastman fox boss was hiding. It had a sword strapped to its back and turned around to see Yoshi and Sakura. Its teeth were dripping with saliva and it wore sharp armor, turning fully to face them. It was estimated to be several times taller than Yoshi. Seeing the sword on the fox boss's back radiating immense power, Yoshi whispered, "I wonder if that sword will fall." The two of them hid behind a rock, and Yoshi's eyes lit up when he saw the perfect length and power of the sword. Sakura noticed his reaction. She looked up at him and softly asked, "Do you want it?" Yoshi raised his hand to his chin, thinking for a moment. "No, I'm just curious. I really wonder if it will fall." Sakura explained to him that most items could drop, but the drop rate depended on the rarity of the item. It's best to keep fighting. Until you get what you want, the effectiveness varies depending on the dungeon. Using special items can help speed up this process. A guide appeared showing the drop rate, the probability of obtaining an item after defeating an enemy. Generally, the higher the quality level and effects of the item, the lower the drop rate. Yoshi, hiding in a corner, realized this. He thought to himself, "So there's a drop rate too. It really feels like a game world." This made the system easier to understand. Yoshi used his perception skill to gather information about the Fox Boss Dark Beastman Fox Level 7 Combat Power 1500. After learning this information, Yoshi couldn't help but feel pleased. Looking closely, he saw many details recorded here. The system displayed Dark Cold Light Sword drop rate 6%, which was quite low. It seemed difficult to obtain it at just level 6. Seeing this, Yoshi thought, "What a pity, it would be perfect for me." At that moment, the system sent a notification and Yoshi opened it to see Trade System activated. You can exchange various items. By meeting certain conditions, the items you can exchange will be upgraded based on your level and abilities. Items that cannot be exchanged permanently will be updated. So please note, after reading the notification, you stood there thinking for a while. The exchange system still has many things I don't know. Right now, I only have the ticket to increase drop rates. The exchange screen shows a ticket that increases drop rates by 30% for 1 minute, boosting the drop rates of all items by 30%. There are 3 tickets left for the exchange conditions. Defeat a total of 30 normal monsters from level 1 to 5. You've defeated a total of 114 meeting the conditions. Tsuyoshi sees the notification displayed and can't help but feel joyful. 114 I can exchange now. You continue to think. Defeating 30 enemies earns 1 ticket. The number of defeated enemies seems to accumulate between both worlds. After some calculations, Tsuyoshi realizes, if I exchange all 3 tickets at once, the drop rate will reach 96%. Thinking this way, Tsuyoshi keeps operating on the screen and almost immediately items start dropping. Holding the 3 drop rate tickets in hand, the system immediately notifies you, you have exchanged 3 drop rate tickets. The conditions have been met. Currently, you do not have a shared item storage. Therefore, the items cannot be stored after putting away the 3 exchange tickets. Tsuyoshi doesn't hesitate and says, "Sakura, let's go get that sword. This will make me stronger." Seeing you so cool, Sakura can't help but feel excited. "Master, do your best." You grip the knife in your hand, immediately getting into a fighting stance, reminding Sakura to focus and guide you. The fox beast immediately senses danger. Its eyes turn bright red as it opens its mouth wide, growling fiercely. A moment later, the fox beast pulls out the sword from its back. It slashes towards Tsuyoshi, who jumps up to dodge. Seeing the small ice shards forming after the beast's slash, Tsuyoshi grits his teeth, thinking, does this sword have an ice effect attached? Sakura stands below watching you and reminds you the dark fox beast is not only agile but also has quite a bit of strength. This weapon is imbued with ice attributes which will slow down movements and reduce vitality when hit. So aim for its weaknesses and quickly end the battle. Thanks to Sakura's reminder, Tsuyoshi thinks of a way to deal with it. The dark fox beast is afraid of fire. Applying oil on the weapon will be effective. Got it. After you apply it, the knife immediately bursts into fierce flames. Tsuyoshi looks at the fox beast and says, let's see which one of us will win. Your ice or my fire. The notes pop up again. The oil mixture of resin and flammable substances applied to the weapon will provide fire attributes. It catches fire upon contact with the air without needing a spark, a familiar item for adventurers. Tsuyoshi grips the flaming knife and attacks the fox beast. Seeing this, the fox beast is caught off guard. Tsuyoshi slashes down and the beast uses ice to block the attack. Sakura, standing below, speaks up to remind Tsuyoshi. The weak points of the fox beast are its armpits and neck. Aim for those spots. After a while fighting the fox beast, Tsuyoshi finally finds an opportunity. He charges at the beast, shouting, "Now!" With a decisive slash, blood starts to spray. The fox beast immediately loses one arm, letting out a painful cry as its health bar shows a decrease of 1/6. The beast trembles uncontrollably. The system of Tsuyoshi displays a notification. When an enemy attacks a weak point, their state will change to vulnerable, doubling the damage during this time. The enemy's decisiveness and spirit drop sharply, making them easier to attack. This lasts for 15 seconds. Tsuyoshi didn't expect that losing an arm would lead to this. He thinks, is there such an effect? How interesting. Seizing the opportunity, Tsuyoshi gathers his strength and charges at the fox beast, ready to exploit this opening. Sakura on this side keeps cheering and instructing Tsuyoshi, master the enemy in this state has weaknesses that are easier to spot. Avoid attacks and look for opportunities to strike. Tsuyoshi hears her reminders. He turns his head back and shouts, "Got it, thanks!" Tsuyoshi keeps attacking the fox beast, continuously not giving it a chance to counterattack. It can only swing its sword wildly. Tsuyoshi quickly dodges the fox beast's slash, thinking, without Sakura's guidance, I would have been dead by now. The beast was momentarily frozen, giving Yoshi the chance to pour all his strength into the knife and stab at the beastman. Now it's my turn, Sakura reminded him to aim for the neck. Yoshi activated his superhuman body system, concentrating 60% of his strength into his hands, allowing him to unleash 200% of his power aimed directly at the beastman. He shouted loudly, "Here we go!" With a swift stab to the beastman's neck. When it was caught off guard, the health bar showed only a little left. An alert immediately rang out, indicating a critical hit. Triple damage, it said. The enemy, heavily wounded, shifted to a weak state for 15 seconds. Seeing this, Sakura raised her hands and cheered, "Awesome! But don't let your guard down until it's over," he reminded. In her heart, she thought, even though this was a low-level battle, being with her master was so enjoyable. Seizing the opportunity, Yoshi dove down from above, knife in hand, declaring, "It's over." Yoshi unleashed his heavenly strike, channeling all his strength into a fatal blow to the beastman's head. Sakura couldn't help but jump up in excitement. "Yay, Master, that was amazing." Yoshi wiped the dirt off his face, his eyes still reflecting a deadly focus, thinking the battle was over. He quickly pulled out the exchange tickets, almost forgetting to use them before the items dropped. The system sent a notification, "You have used 3 tickets to increase drop rates. The drop rate for all items has increased to 96% for 1 minute. Just as Yoshi finished using the tickets, the items dropped, and he happily said, "Just in time." After defeating the Beastman boss, the system continuously sent notifications. You have gained 3,000 experience points. Current experience 5,430 out of 6,000. You have defeated the level 7 Beastman boss. You have received the Black Frost Blade. Seeing his experience points rise so much, Yoshi shouted like a child, 3,000 experience points it dropped. Sakura, standing beside him, was also happy for him, saying, "You're so lucky. Hardly anyone gets this weapon on their first try." Yoshi picked up the frost blade to examine it. He thought, even with a superhuman body, I could still get hurt if I'm careless. If I find a suitable weapon, I could unleash even stronger attacks. I've never seen a weapon this powerful before. He raised the sword, and a thin layer of frost covered it. In his mind, he kept thinking about challenging all 3 from the Crazy Wolf Guild with this weapon. This is exciting. Just a bit more and I'll reach level 5. I'll hit level 6 before tonight, he thought, as both Sakura and he saw the system display his level 4 warrior class. The Black Frost Blade has no skills. It has the skill Heavenly Strike with a power of 4,600 experience 5,430 out of 6,000. Yoshi slung the sword over his shoulder and looked at Sakura, asking, "Is there anywhere else to level up?" "I want to reach level 6 as soon as possible." Hearing Yoshi's question, she quickly replied, "That's easy. Just use the reset scroll." The reset scroll shortens the respawn time of monsters in caves or dungeons. Its effectiveness decreases in higher-level areas or special zones. She raised a finger, indicating that the Beastman Cave was a low-level area, so monsters respawn quickly. As Sakura bent down to rummage through her bag, she said, "I have a few scrolls. It should be enough to reach level 6, but let's rest first. I also have this healing potion." Yoshi didn't expect that and asked her, "What else do you have?" The two then walked outside the cave. Sakura pulled out a reset scroll and said, "This should be enough." She activated the scroll and the system sent a notification. "The reset scroll has been used. The cave has been reset." Yoshi shouldered his sword and stepped forward, filled with enthusiasm. "All right, let's go." "This is enough. The system will immediately send a notification to reset the paper roll that has been used. Be careful, Yoshi is carrying it." "Go ahead, you're all fired up, that's good." "I can't wait any longer." The two of them rushed into the Tsuyoshi cave, wildly slashing at the beastmen. He brought his sword down and exclaimed, "The black cold light sword is incredible. It can even slow down enemies with a freezing effect." Sakura added, explaining some weapons with special effects and their varying strengths. "Surely you'll find even stronger weapons in the future." Tsuyoshi wiped out the beastmen outside the system while also sending a notification to level 4 of the warrior class. Equipped without the skill to copy the celestial shock, the black cold light sword has a combat power of 4,600 and experience of 5,560 out of 6,000. Tsuyoshi was still tirelessly fighting deeper into the cave. Speaking of powerful weapons, there's also the divine hammer of the beastmen, which is currently stored away, but even using all his strength, he could only wield it for a maximum of 1 second. If he could use it correctly, he would be invincible. Finally, Tsuyoshi reached the second boss battle against the beastman, holding his sword and staring directly at the boss. He said, "How strong are you? I've defeated your army and leveled up to 5. Now let's continue the fight." The system showed that Tsuyoshi was now level 5 in the warrior class, equipped with the black cold light sword without the skill to copy the celestial shock. 5,800 experience, 800 out of 9,000. Tsuyoshi continuously used the third setup scroll, and at this point he was level 5 in the warrior class, equipped with the black cold light sword without the skill to copy the celestial shock with 5,800 experience, 2,900 out of 9,000. Quickly, he faced the beastman boss for the 4th time. Tsuyoshi said, "I missed you so much." Sakura, standing beside him, didn't forget to wish him good luck. After the 4th defeat, the system continued to display level 5 in the warrior class, equipped with the black cold light sword without the skill to copy the celestial shock. 5,800 experience, 5,200 out of 9,000. On the 5th time, Tsuyoshi quickly charged in, slashing at the beastman while shouting, "I'm back! You filthy foxes!" Sakura observed him and remarked, "That seems a bit ruthless." After the 5th time, Tsuyoshi was now level 5 in the warrior class, equipped without the black cold light sword without the skill to copy the celestial shock. Combat power, 5,800 experience, 8,120 out of 9,000. After Tsuyoshi defeated the beastman boss for the 6th time, it willingly knelt down and offered the sword to him. Tsuyoshi immediately rushed towards it, his body drenched in sweat. "That's more like it." He slashed decisively, and the system announced his level up to level 6 in the warrior class. Equipped without the black cold light sword without the skill to copy the celestial shock, combat power 7,600 out of 8,800. After leveling up, Tsuyoshi stood there panting. He wiped the sweat from his face and muttered, "I've replenished my strength 6 times today. I must have gathered enough equipment from the beastmen." The note window explained that when stamina is depleted during a battle, actions cannot be performed, attack power drops significantly, and one becomes more vulnerable, Tsuyoshi said to himself. "Finally, I've reached level 6. His eyes were filled with determination as he told himself, "Now I can participate in the trials." Just wait. Over here, people have been waiting from morning till night. Someone is mocking Tsuyoshi, saying that he will participate in the trials after reaching level 6, which is just foolishness at the entrance to the Battle Academy. 2 beastmen were warming themselves by the fire. Gogart, one of them, spoke up. "A weak human reaching level 6 on our land doesn't know his limits." Dravo, sitting across from him, chimed in. "Even if he reaches level 6, who knows when that will happen? Moreover, only the strong can enter the Battle Academy." Suddenly, a voice from behind made Dravo turn around. From a distance, 2 dark figures were approaching. Tsuyoshi said, "Let him hear. Who knows when misfortune will strike? I've already reached level 6. Both beastmen were shocked to hear him say that. They were utterly astonished, stammering, "No way you leveled up twice in one day." Tsuyoshi stood in front of him wearing the beastman armor. He clenched his fist and said to him, "Go wake up the examiner. I can't wait until tomorrow, and I'm ready to apologize to Sakura." The system of Tsuyoshi displayed level 6 in the warrior class, equipped with the beastman armor, the black cold light sword without the skill to copy the celestial shock. His combat power was 8,800. After Dravo awakened him, he stepped out to face Lim Dim and wondered, "What's going on? I was just about to go to sleep. Is this a human challenge?" If you waste my time, be ready to face the consequences. His name is Jagos, a Beast Warrior Skills Supervisor from the Level 20 Academy. Tsuyoshi remained calm and replied, I've met all the requirements. Let's begin the challenge. Moreover, I want to choose a skill from the skill storage system. Each student has a place to store their skill scrolls, but only those who pass the challenge can select one from there. The size and level of the scrolls in the storage vary depending on the student, but this remains the same across all races. Jagos put on a dramatic face. You say that, but you've only reached level 6. That doesn't guarantee you'll pass the challenge, Dravo thought. He turned to whisper something to Jagos, who upon hearing couldn't believe his ears and exclaimed, What? From level 4 to 6 in less than a day? How is that even possible? Tsuyoshi, tired of their back and forth, lost patience and said, Stop running away. If I pass, you'll have to apologize to Sakura the Beast Warrior. You won't go back on your word, right? Ravok responded. Well, even though I'm not entirely convinced I'll say this fine, but where does your confidence come from? Jagos stood in front of Drago, looked at Tsuyoshi and said, Interesting. I don't know what happened, but okay, I'll follow your lead. The idea that an ordinary human could pass a challenge meant for beast warriors is quite amusing. After a while, they finally entered the area. To prepare for the challenge, the Combat Academy supervisor named Obsidian sat cross-legged and said, If you've reached level 6, let's get started. We Beast Warriors are a powerful race, meaning strength is the main criterion for passing. If you succeed, you'll have the right to use the Beast Warrior Academy's skill storage. We stood on the platform surrounding an obsidian stone. Obsidian continued, The challenge is simple. Look at the stone on the platform. If you can break it with just one punch, you'll pass. Both Tsuyoshi and Sakura didn't think it would be that simple. He muttered quietly, Is that all there is to it? Draco stood on the other side, thinking, the supervisor is testing a human with an obsidian stone. Even a level 10 warrior would struggle to break that stone. Normally, we use regular stones. Enjoy your confidence while you can. The system noted for Tsuyoshi that the obsidian stone is a rock that fell from the sky used by beast warriors to measure strength. Although he no longer felt fear, it was initially considered a bad omen. As their numbers increased, the hard material containing metal became valuable, and it was said that distant souls used it to forge weapons. Jagos rolled up his sleeves, looked at the stone, and said, For beast warriors, it's easy. You just need to punch it and break it in one go. Let me show you how. In his mind, Jagos was excited, thinking, Is it really that easy? Anyone below level 10 wouldn't even be able to make a dent in the obsidian stone. It's not hard if using regular stones, but for a despised human, that's a different story. Jagod rolled up his sleeves, looked at the stone slab, and said it was easy for the beastmen. You just need to smash it in one punch. Let me show you how to do it. In Jagod's mind, he was excited, thinking, Is it really that easy? Anyone below level 10 can't even break a gem. It's not hard if you use a regular stone, but if it's a hated human, that's a different story. He put all his strength into throwing a punch and then confidently said, Take a good look at this. This is how it works. Even at level 20, I have to give it my all. After a punch from Jagos, the outer jade stone cracked with a small line. He wiped the sweat from his forehead, glanced at Tsuyoshi, and said, See, it's not that simple. Let's see what you've got. Tsuyoshi heard him say that. He clenched his fist and walked over, saying seriously, All right, then. Let's see how it goes. Sakura cheered from behind, encouraging her master to give it his all. Tsuyoshi let out a sigh. In his mind, he was thinking about how, thanks to his extraordinary body, he could surpass the expected strength at his level. But just in case, he would adjust his technique to enhance his strength and add force to the punch. Tsuyoshi tightened his fist into a ball. Around his hand, sparks began to appear. The system announced that Tsuyoshi was using 50% of his extraordinary body strength focused on his right arm. This brought incredible power, but Jagos kept warning him, saying, Even though this is easy for us beastmen, a weak human like you can't possibly... Tsuyoshi threw a punch at the outer jade stone, and Jagos barely finished his sentence before the punch left a scratch. Not to mention, Tsuyoshi had already punched the jade stone. One punch shattered it into pieces, scattering debris everywhere. Both Jagos and Dravo were left speechless, their mouths agape at the power that shattered the jade. A gust of wind was created from the impact, blowing Jagos' hair wildly. Tsuyoshi stood there dumbfounded, rubbing his head, thinking, Did I use too much force? It really was too easy. I was expecting something harder, Sakura said, watching Tsuyoshi with admiration. As predicted, now you can access the skill repository. Dragon and Jagat stood by, taking turns speaking as supervisors. Did you see that? What the hell was that? He broke the foreign stone with just one punch. No way. Tsuyoshi walked up to Jago's, brushing off his hands, and said, "So that counts as a pass, right? Right?" Jago's trembled, pointing at him, stuttering, "No, you failed. When you did that, I didn't see it. That's the truth, I swear. The watermarks must be from my previous performance. So breaking the jade stone doesn't count. That means you failed because you borrowed my strength." Tsuyoshi, feeling challenged, asked him, "What's the plan for the next challenge?" Jagat, hearing him ask so casually, broke out in a cold sweat, loudly asking, What will the next challenge be?" After thinking for a moment, he continued, "We'll do the next challenge bending a steel bar." Jagat thought to himself that bending a steel bar was one of the strength tests. Participants had to bend an extremely hard steel bar with their strength like this. Tsuyoshi didn't hesitate and moved on to the next challenge. The system displayed, "This is real steel. Even for a beast warrior, explosive strength is needed to bend it." The superhuman body has concentrated 50% of its strength into both arms, giving Tsuyoshi terrifying power, able to bend a steel bar in an instant. He looked at Zagos and spoke softly. "So what now?" He saw Tsuyoshi easily pass through. Once again, he denied it. "You slipped up. That steel bar isn't for testing, so we have no choice but to use the most primitive method, arm wrestling. If you can hold out for 10 seconds. Our strongest warrior you will surpass," Zagos thought, but deep down he knew this time would be different. "Even I can't defeat him." Tsuyoshi quickly overpowered the strongest warrior, still casually saying, "Here, take this." The system displayed the superhuman body has concentrated 70% of its strength into the right arm, giving it terrifying power. Zagos watched as his warrior was overpowered. Instantly, he felt like vomiting blood. He couldn't even last a second as Tsuyoshi shot him a cold glare and said, "I've completed 3 challenges already. I passed this time, right?" Both Drago and Jagat trembled at his state speaking in turn. "Of course you passed." What a terrifying person. Tsuyoshi took Sakura's hand and brought her in front of Drago, declaring loudly, "Now, as promised, you have to apologize to Sakura." Gravok saw his determination. He had no way to back out of it. Damn it, fine. A beast warrior must keep his promise. He bowed 90 degrees before her and sincerely said to Sakura, "I'm sorry. I apologize for what I said last time." Sakura blushed. She nestled behind Tsuyoshi and softly said, "I really didn't expect this. I thought this kind of treatment was normal. Don't worry about it." Seeing her like that, Tsuyoshi waved his hand in defense. "You don't need to be so polite. He should apologize. That's only natural." "Just accept the apology with pride," he said. Hearing Tsuyoshi, she could only blush in embarrassment and replied, "Yes, master." She raised her head confidently to face Drago. "I accept your apology." After passing the test, Tsuyoshi was allowed to enter the skill vault. Before letting him in, the beastmen reminded him, "Each time you enter, you can only take 1 skill scroll." Tsuyoshi heard that. He raised his hand to his chin, thinking, then said, "Just once. That's really unreasonable." Jagos turned to him and said, "Do you think you can take whatever you want?" "The Battle Academy has very strict rules." He continued explaining the rules of the skill vault to Tsuyoshi. "Once inside, you only have 3 minutes to find your desired skill scroll. If you break the seal on the scroll within that time, it will be yours. If time runs out, you will be expelled by the rules and won't be able to enter again for a while." Tsuyoshi didn't care about him. He just complained about the time limit and the seal being expelled by the rules. "What is this?" Zagos continued explaining to Tsuyoshi, "The Battle Academy is an important place representing the entire region." The system's notes also appeared. Seal on the skill scroll, a mysterious seal. Skill scrolls cannot be used unless this seal is broken. Rule barrier, a type of barrier that can only be lifted by a mage or wizard. It can enforce conditions based on rules allowing or denying the careers of beings to protect the vault from high-level mages or wizards. Jago spoke again. "This seems more complicated than I thought." After learning this information, Tsuyoshi nodded in agreement. "That's right." Sakura behind him added, "I've heard that in higher-level battle academies the conditions are even harsher." Jagat opened the skill vault door and reminded Tsuyoshi once more, "If you understand, then go in." "Don't even think about stealing skills or you'll be immediately expelled by the barrier." Tsuyoshi stepped up the stairs behind him while Jagat's voice echoed on. "Got it. You have 3 minutes to choose a skill scroll and get out of here." Tsuyoshi entered the vault and Sakura followed closely behind. The countdown began 3 minutes. Tsuyoshi eagerly browsed through one skill scroll after another, his curiosity piqued by everything. "I understand why they need magic to protect this place. And with so many skill scrolls here, I would be tempted to steal a few too. Sakura approached a bookshelf, picked up a skill scroll, and said, "This is my first time in a skill vault. And each scroll is sealed so I can't see the content inside. It feels like I could break this seal with just a bit of strength." Tsuyoshi also examined the skill scrolls, carefully contemplating that he intended to use the copying technique, but it was hard to find a truly good skill. Moreover, using the copying technique might be a bit awkward. I'm not sure if Sakura can pull it off. The system displayed a note on how to use the copying technique. Feel the opponent's heart with your hand, then select any skill from their skill set. To copy, Tsuyoshi held the skill scroll in his hand, recalling the image of the lazy wolf pack hunting him down, his eyes gleaming with determination. Well then, let's get started. I just need to use my strength. Right, he thought, still considering that he needed to choose a skill to deal with those three. Suddenly, Tsuyoshi channeled his power into the skill scroll to open it, and immediately he saw the information about the skill. Tsuyoshi exclaimed, "Success." The skill information appeared. Shield charge uses a shield to strike powerfully at the target, dealing physical damage and potentially stunning the opponent. Suitable for warriors or defensive warrior classes. He felt no interest in this skill. He placed it back on the shelf and said, "Shield charge, I don't use shields." Sakura picked up another scroll and spoke, "Master, I don't need this skill. But I have something I want to show you. This skill scroll is Wind Step, move quickly to a designated location to evade enemy attacks and increase attack speed. Suitable for archers or speed-oriented warrior classes." Seeing this, Tsuyoshi shook his head. "Archery isn't my style." The two continued to browse the next skill scroll. Battle Roar, let out a roar to encourage yourself and your teammates, enhancing attack and defense. Suitable for commanding warriors or classes developed from warriors. Sakura grasped this information. She said to Tsuyoshi, "Battle Roar is a common support skill for warriors." He continued searching, glancing and saying, "Not what I'm looking for, keep searching." At this moment, the remaining time displayed was 2 minutes. Tsuyoshi panicked, grabbing a random skill scroll and saying, "Only 2 minutes left." This is bad. None of these skills suit me at all. Sakura, still cheering him on from behind, said, "Master, why not try the counter skill?" Hearing this, Tsuyoshi looked for that skill scroll and the system displayed. Counter within a certain time frame, retaliate against the enemy's physical attacks with a chance to counter status effects. Suitable for counter-type warriors or classes developed from warriors. After reading it, Tsuyoshi rubbed his chin, thinking for a moment, "Counter could be useful," he exclaimed after finding the first scroll. "All right, I'll keep it as a candidate." Sakura then approached, bringing him a few other scrolls. Tsuyoshi glanced over them and bluntly rejected them. "You're being too flashy for me," and next is Tsuyoshi's charm, still unsatisfied. "Never." Sakura really doesn't have much time left. When she hears the name of the skill book, she immediately asks what kind of shady skill that slender body possesses. Sakura stands to the side, feeling a bit sad. None of it fits the master. With only a minute left, she sees that time is running out. Tsuyoshi thinks just 1 minute left, this isn't good. I haven't been effective. If I break the seal, it seems I can check inside the scroll. At this point, I'll have to use brute force. That's my decision. Tsuyoshi turns back to remind Sakura. "Sakura, you have stamina, recovery potions, and energy potions in your bag. Right, I might need them later. Step back and hide behind something solid. Hurry up." Although Sakura doesn't know what he wants to do, she obediently hides behind the bookshelf. "Yes, master." Tsuyoshi begins to use his powerful arm, and the blue electric rays appear again. Outside, Drago suddenly looks up at the skill vault. The electric rays are appearing at the top of the vault. Drago, observing from a distance, speaks up, not knowing the reason. "What's going on?" Inside the room, Tsuyoshi is still casting spells. "That's right. I will break all the seals at once." Sakura peeks her head out to sneak a look at Tsuyoshi, thinking fleetingly that even she is overwhelmed by her master's intensity. The system immediately sends a notification to Tsuyoshi. "Due to insufficient level and conditions, you cannot unleash the full power of the Heavenly Hammer. Forcing the release will consume a large amount of energy. The release time is 1 second. Tsuyoshi raises his electric punch and shouts, "1 second is all I need." Outside, the electric rays have now become rolling purple lightning, filling the dark, mystical night sky. Jagos, witnessing the scene before him, exclaims in astonishment, "Is this the power of a human?" Inside the vault, Tsuyoshi is holding the divine hammer in his hand, his eyes bloodshot, surrounded by a cloud of dust. Sakura is still standing outside observing. She can only think to herself, "This is terrifying. If I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, I wouldn't have believed it." The system has finished preparing and displays the notification the divine hammer has been activated. Duration 1 second. Seeing this, Tsuyoshi doesn't hesitate. He slams the divine hammer down onto the ground and says, "I will break all the seals of the districts at once." At the same time, outside the top of the vault, the lightning has disappeared, replaced by a blinding light inside the vault after Tsuyoshi's hammer strike on the floor. The ground around him shatters, and the gravitational force radiates throughout the room. Tsuyoshi has opened the seals of each skill book one by one for inspection. Sakura sees that they have all been simultaneously unlocked. She gasps and murmurs, "The seals of all the skill books have been removed." At this moment, the system sends another notification. The divine hammer has completed the deactivation. Tsuyoshi sits on the ground holding his injured arm after using the divine hammer. "I did it." At this point, there are 50 seconds left. The skill books are unlocked simultaneously and information floods in front of Tsuyoshi. He thinks the information from the districts is pouring in. Sakura remains hidden behind the bookshelf, motionless, thinking that the information from the invisible scrolls is flooding in so much that it distorts space. If so much information comes in at once, the brain won't be able to process it. Thinking this, she runs out to call her master, "Master, wait." But it's all too late. Tsuyoshi has already received a torrent of information. At this moment, he holds his head in his hands, still thinking, "My head hurts too much. I see everything. Bring me the strongest scroll, the skill that suits me best. There are only 40 seconds left. It's not enough time." Tsuyoshi feels a bit panicked. This isn't good. Not enough. Bring me a stronger skill. Suddenly, he spots a scroll emitting light. Immediately, he heads to the shelf containing the skill book. With only 30 seconds left, Sakura sees time is running out and reminds him. "Master, time is almost up." A beam of light was emitted, and he immediately went to the shelf containing the time manual. There were only 30 seconds left. Sakura reminded him as the time was running out. "Master, time is almost up." Tsuyoshi was completely drained of energy at this point. In his mind, he thought about how it caught his eye, so he asked Sakura to grab the book from the bottom shelf of the farthest aisle, the third one from the back. Upon hearing this, Sakura immediately jumped into the air. "Yes, Master, you pointed out the right spot," she said. "The bottom shelf, third from the back." With 20 seconds left, she held the book tightly in her hands. Sakura hesitated, thinking that a torn scroll must be a mistake. The system immediately displayed information about the torn scroll, indicating that these were scrolls missing part of their content for some reason. You need to collect the remaining pieces to complete them. Usually, torn scrolls contain incomplete content, and the power of the skills is significantly reduced, so almost no one learns from them. She didn't have time to think much, and could only return to where Tsuyoshi had just landed, calling out, "Master! Are you sure this is the torn scroll?" She tucked the book into her chest and told Tsuyoshi, "Time's up. Let's get out of here." With 10 seconds left, Tsuyoshi forced himself to stand up, carrying Sakura in his arms, struggling to say, "I can hold on a bit longer. I'll get out on my own." He activated the system, channeling 50% of his strength into his legs to boost his speed. His body would have to endure immense pressure. "Be careful," Jagged said, still standing outside, not seeing any movement. He murmured to himself, "It's too quiet," counting down the last 5 seconds. Even if he couldn't find the scroll, he would still be taken out when time was up. Jagged stood outside, still murmuring, counting down the time. Suddenly, the skill vault door began to open at the last second. Dust and debris swirled around, accompanied by a faint blue light as Tsuyoshi carried Sakura out and exclaimed, "Just in time." He set Sakura down, and she quickly bandaged the wound on her hand to help Tsuyoshi. Jagged looked at the book in his hands, astonished. "You brought back a torn scroll." They stood right outside the skill vault, opening it to see the system display information about the book. Thunderstorm, a powerful combat magic. The user summons extremely strong currents. It deals lightning damage that spreads among 3 suitable targets, ideal for both warriors and mages. Skill details apply with a staff or weapon. Attack the main target with extremely powerful lightning, then summon lightning from the sky. It automatically links to the next target, which will be paralyzed after taking damage. Since this skill controls lightning, the strongest force of nature, it requires exceptional ability from the user, and those lacking the capability are forbidden from using this magic. This skill can be upgraded by collecting the remaining fragments after reading the scroll. Zagos held it in his hands and said, "I've heard from predecessors. In the past 1000 years, almost no one has tried to learn this fragmented skill. There are two reasons. First, this skill is divided into 6 parts, but only 3 have been found. Collecting the remaining pieces in this vast world is no different than a wild goose chase. Furthermore, all beastmen who learned this skill in the past died due to backlash when upgrading the skill. Their bodies exploded, causing horrific deaths. Perhaps it was because they couldn't control the power of this skill. Tsuyoshi, hearing this, looked tired and said, "It's extremely difficult to learn it by collecting the remaining fragments only to end up exploding, so no one has fully mastered this skill." The supervisor of the Obsidian Academy suddenly spoke up. "No, there was once a person—" He began recounting a story from 1000 years ago about the mightiest beast king known as the Divine King. He was also the one who possessed our holy artifact, the Divine Hammer. That was the only skill he left behind. At that moment, Tsuyoshi casually picked his nose and asked, "A skill left by the user of the Divine Hammer. Why would such a powerful skill be discarded like trash?" Obsidian, seeing him like that, became furious and shouted, "Are you kidding? What kind of joke is this?" He immediately got angry and shouted, "Are you kidding me? What kind of joke is this?" Obsidian took a deep breath and continued, "No matter how powerful a skill is, if no one can learn it, it's just as useless as a superior weapon that's nothing more than trash. Even if it's a skill left behind by a great god, if it's in the hands of someone who doesn't know how to use it, few believe it still exists, since no one has mastered it in the past 1,000 years. Just like the former glory of the beastmen, it will never return." Hearing this, Tsuyoshi felt a surge of motivation and raised the manual with a beaming face. "Anything will do. It might just be perfect for me. Let's go, Sakura." Sakura gently replied yes as she watched Tsuyoshi and herself leave. Obsidian called after them, saying, "That piece is just the beginning. Whether you can find the remaining fragments and fully master this skill depends entirely on your strength and luck." He then turned his attention to Sakura, saying, "And you, the half-beast, should have been executed right." Seeing that she didn't respond, he angrily questioned, "How could you do this to a beast man? Perhaps that human still doesn't know your true identity. Are you planning to sacrifice him too?" At this moment, Sakura changed her demeanor instantly. She shot Obsidian a cold glare and said, "This has nothing to do with you." Obsidian, seeing her like this, felt a twinge of fear and withdrew. He said nothing more, watching the two of them gradually walk away. Obsidian muttered to himself, "I'll see how far you can go." Tsuyoshi was unwrapping the bandage on his hand and said, "Sakura, your healing potion is really effective. But the downside is that the system shows you that thanks to the healing potion you've fully recovered." He was applying the ointment that Sakura had given him, mumbling, "How the hell did she make this?" Sakura remained outside, gazing into the distance without responding. Tsuyoshi turned to her and pressed, "Sakura, you've been acting a bit strange since we got back. Are you okay?" She finally turned back and gently replied, "Yes, I'm just a little tired." Tsuyoshi looked at her for a while, then asked, "I just want to know why you should have been executed. Is it because of your background?" Hearing his question, Sakura's expression suddenly darkened, clearly unhappy. Tsuyoshi, oblivious to her mood, continued to ask, "You're the next one, right?" Sakura quickly regained her cheerful demeanor. She didn't answer and simply changed the subject. "Let's not talk about unhappy things anymore. Have you studied the remaining scrolls, Master E?" Tsuyoshi, hearing her question, forgot about wanting to ask her more. He recalled that earlier at the Beastman Academy, the old Beastman had said some strange things. "But this skill seems very suitable for me," he thought to himself. "Thunder strikes, needing a strong body that fits me perfectly as the one with the strongest physique. I can't wait to see what this skill will be like." When enough scrolls were gathered, Sakura didn't give him a chance to continue. She stood up and said, "Great, shall we go?" She stood outside stretching and added, "The weather is beautiful today. It seems like a good day for you to level up, Master." Tsuyoshi, still sitting inside, softly replied, "Yes, but before that I have something to do." At that moment, the ring on his hand sent a notification that the countdown of the Infinity Ring had ended. "You can use the Infinity Path. The Infinity Path activation is complete." Tsuyoshi smiled strangely, thinking to himself about how to deal with those 3. "I've figured out a way to handle those 3. As the Infinity Path was activated, Tsuyoshi was extremely furious. He spoke each word with intensity. "I told them to remember my name. Right, I will definitely kill them." The system also displayed Tsuyoshi's information level 6 warrior class equipped with Beastman Fox Gear Black Cold Light Demon Sword skills. "That's right, but before that I still have something to do." At the same time, the ring on his hand sent a notification that the countdown for the Infinite Ring had ended. You can use the infinite path. The infinite path activation is complete. Tsuyoshi smiled strangely while thinking about learning this skill. I figured out how to deal with those three. The infinite path has just been activated, and Tsuyoshi was extremely angry, speaking each word, clearly telling them to remember his name. Right, I will definitely kill them. The system also displayed information about Tsuyoshi level 6 warrior class equipped with Beastman gear, black cold light demon sword skills. The thunderstorm skill with a combat power of 8,800 returns to the real world as a swirling electric vortex falls from the sky. As he lands, he thinks, I'm back. Before launching an attack, he needs to break through his opponent's defenses. Watching the three members of the Lazy Wolf Guild charge in frantically, Tsuyoshi is still contemplating that he needs a weapon to activate his new skill. Luckily, there's the Holy Vault. He quickly opens it and reaches in to grab something. The system immediately displays that the Holy Vault has been activated and an item has been retrieved. Holding a sword, radiating ice and snow, a glimmer of light flashes in Tsuyoshi's eyes. He thinks, I trust you, as the system reveals that the black ice sword has been retrieved with 2 slots remaining. Kijiro, seeing the sword in his hand, tightens his grip on his staff and says he pulled that sword from thin air. The others look on with greedy eyes, adding, he must have some space. That sword looks extremely high grade. I want that sword. Tatsuru quickly reminds him, kill him first, then we can split the loot. Tsuyoshi grips the sword tightly, looking at all three with a cold gaze, his voice low. You guys started this. With that, he raises the sword high, a massive power begins to radiate, and the ground beneath him starts to crack. Kazuro, witnessing the scene, is also taken aback. Wait, he's actually a warrior! What is this powerful aura? Tsuyoshi points the sword at them, and a whirlwind rises, an overwhelming pressure emanating from him. A bright flash of lightning strikes the sky, and the three members of the Lazy Wolf Guild, seeing this terrifying power, turn pale, frozen in place. Tsuyoshi immediately unleashes the thunderstorm skill, and all three are struck by bolts of lightning, screaming as the system displays the thunderstorm skill activation when wielding a staff or weapon. You can summon a powerful gust of wind from the sky. After attacking one target, it will switch to another, causing damage. The paralysis effect will apply to poisoned targets. All three are paralyzed with lightning continuously striking them. Tatsuru speaks up. Why can that kid use such high-level magic? Guy, kneeling on the ground, trembles and says, I can't move. Tsuyoshi looks down at them, both he and the sword enveloped in electric arcs. Kazero, paralyzed, shakes as he reaches into his clothes for something. In his mind, he thinks, damn it, we underestimated him. He's completely different from before. What the hell is happening? Frustrated, he decides it's better to run. Tatsuru struggles to speak. Wait, we haven't finished talking, but Tsuyoshi swings the sword, slicing him across. He looks at him with a hostile gaze and says, You think I'll forgive someone who wants to kill me? Don't be ridiculous. Guy sees Tatsuru's lifeless body on the ground and screams in madness, Don't you know these guys are from the Crazy Wolf Guild? Please let me go! But before he can finish, Tsuyoshi sends him on his way with a single slash, silencing him for good. Only Kazuro remains still kneeling there. He starts to panic, knowing that if he lets them go, he will die. After dealing with the other two, Tsuyoshi turns back to him. Kazuro sees him and trembles, and Tsuyoshi slowly approaches, saying, Next! Kazuro suddenly gets up, screaming, You think I'll just die? Unexpectedly, he throws a sticky bomb he had prepared at Tsuyoshi. The system immediately displays the sticky bomb's details. These bombs stick to targets and explode even though they are small. But they pack a powerful punch and can cause significant damage. For these reasons, they are rare and expensive. To use them, throw them at a target and they will stick. But they have great power and can deal significant damage. For these reasons, they are very rare and expensive. The way to use them is to throw these at the target and they will stick. Using magic to activate the sticky bomb flying towards Tsuyoshi, he drew his sword to block it, but it immediately stuck to the sword. Kazuro activated the magic and shouted, his body bulging with veins, Die, explode! Instantly, a massive explosion occurred, turning everything to rubble. Kazuro clung to his staff, slowly rising, laughing loudly. I bought these fruits at the price of a human life. Even a level 12 hero would be injured, but if you're only level 10, these bombs are enough to tear your body apart. He still stood before the chaotic fruits. You're far from being able to fight us. The explosion ended, and thick black smoke filled the air. Kazuro waved his hand, searching through the remnants of the fire, spotting Tsuyoshi still standing there. He stammered, unable to believe Tsuyoshi was standing in the flames. What the hell is this power the system is showing, unless he has a superhuman body? You must be dead for sure. Tsuyoshi then revealed himself, activating the goblin armor. The ground shattered, rocks flying wildly in the air as Tsuyoshi charged forward. His eyes emitted a bright red light, thinking that the dark goblin suit and superhuman body had been activated. Tsuyoshi moved like a lightning bolt, flying to finish off Kazuro in an instant. After taking care of him, there was still blood on his armor. He thought about finishing off all three of them. Tsuyoshi walked over to his sword that had been thrown away, pulled it out, and said, "You think I'll feel safe if I let you go? You guys are members of the Crazy Wolves." Looking at the three corpses lying on the ground, he continued, "This happened because my level is still low." Suddenly, he noticed something in Kazuro's body. Tomo walked over, sat down, and examined it. He rummaged through, muttering to himself, "A disgusting world that devours the weak." From the fabric pouch, he poured out a ring into his hand, and Tsuyoshi gasped. It was a space ring. The system also provided him with additional information. The space ring was forged from a special material that allows the user to have a space of a certain size. The size of the space changes based on the level of the ring. In low-level rings, the space is only the size of a small room, while in high-level rings, the space can be as large as a mountain. The size of the space is determined by the ring's level rarity and the materials used. Even a low-level ring is still a valuable item. Tsuyoshi immediately put the ring on his finger. He happily said, "This is really a space ring, so good." After putting it on the system, guided him on how to use it, telling him to channel mana into the ring to store an item. The method of use is the same. In the case that the ring has been bound to a user only, that user can use the ring until they die or ownership is severed. Tsuyoshi looked at the ring on his hand and muttered to himself, "An ordinary hero can't possibly have a space ring. Besides the high price, it's also hard to find on the market. Oh, let's see." Tsuyoshi immediately tried to connect his power with the ring. He realized something and exclaimed, "No way I can activate it right away. This is a new ring." The system immediately displayed, "You have successfully activated the space ring for the first time. The ring is synchronized with your mana." Tsuyoshi turned around, unable to close his mouth in disbelief. "I can't believe this is happening." "Thanks," he said as he left. The area where the fight had just occurred was immediately sealed off. He stood at a distance thinking, "The hero security force is here. Good thing I left early." The system's note read, "The Hero Security Force is a security force created by heroes organized under the control of the Hero Association." Tsuyoshi hid in the crowd not far away, putting his hands in his pockets, thinking, "I've erased all traces and taken everything valuable so they can't find anything related to me." Thinking that, Tsuyoshi turned and walked away. He said to himself, "At least now I'm safe. The phone I got from Guy is really amazing when I attach my information code to this device. Then it belongs to me." Suddenly, the phone rang, startling Tsuyoshi. "Who's calling at this hour?" He pressed the device on his ear to answer, and a girl's voice came through. "Tsuyoshi-kun, it's me. Hearing your voice immediately reminded me of my high school homeroom teacher, Miss Lily. She should have submitted her resignation by now." Tsuyoshi replied, "What's up, miss?" On the other end of the line, Miss Lily was sitting in her office telling Tsuyoshi, "You still haven't returned to school even though winter break has been over for more than a week. I know you want to drop out because of your sister. I understand it might be due to your financial situation, but I don't want to see a student drop out." Tsuyoshi didn't hesitate to respond, "Thank you, miss. But it's not just about money." He thought about the times he was bullied at school and continued, "I really hated school, you know that." Hearing this, the teacher could only advise him, "I understand, but you can change your life if you don't give up on your studies. As for the tuition, I'll try to do something so you won't have to worry. Be brave and come to school tomorrow." "You can't just clean up after your sister and for your future, right?" Actually, she was about to say something else, but paused for a moment. Tsuyoshi was lost in thought. She still didn't know that she had become a hero. She was the only one who always worried about him. Gathering all her courage, she told him, "You're a strong guy. Tsuyoshi, please don't shy away from difficulties and keep studying. I will be your strength as much as I can. You can do this for your sister. And for yourself." Tsuyoshi sat on the bench, raised his hand to his head, and remained silent, telling himself that he thought he didn't want to go to school anymore because there were no happy memories there. But after talking to Miss Lily, he realized that he was now a hero, no longer powerless and bullied. He would make those bullies pay. Thinking like that, Tsuyoshi finally made a decision and responded on the other end of the line. "Thank you so much. I will come to school tomorrow." The system displayed level 6 class warrior equipped with dark armor and a dark shining sword. Skill Thunder Strike secondary skill, Heavenly Shock, combat power 8800. The scene shifted to a dark room where a person was sitting in front of a computer screen speaking up. 3 people were killed by an unidentified hero and their items were stolen. He typed rhythmically on the table while continuing, the space ring I gave them was also stolen. He clenched his fist, grimacing, to reveal a few gold teeth and said, Thief, you don't even realize that the tracking spell was attached to that ring. System explanation. The tracking spell is a magic used to determine the approximate location of an item that has been enchanted with a tracking device. The traces of this magic are hidden when used, but a high-level wizard can erase the traces of that magic. Looking at the positioning from the device placed on the table, he muttered to himself, I know where you are. He stood up abruptly, slamming his hand on the table while his other hand clenched into a fist. He was the leader of the Crazy Wolves level 21 class warrior combat power 11,200, his face full of anger as he muttered, I won't let you live after stealing from the Crazy Wolves. Looking at the group of people in black in front of him, the Crazy Wolves leader ordered, Bring that thief here. The people below responded in unison, Yes, boss. The next morning, Tsuyoshi and his sister were at the school gate. Little Karina now had 2 leg braces and 2 crutches. To assist with walking, Tsuyoshi, with his bag slung over his shoulder, turned to ask his sister, How's the brace? Karina still couldn't get used to it right away. She told Tsuyoshi, As long as I go slowly, it's fine. Don't worry, big brother. Hearing her say that Tsuyoshi didn't know what to say, so he just reminded her, You're really stubborn, just take your time. Go slow. In his heart, he thought that when he heard he wanted to continue school, she insisted on going with him, saying, I don't want to be a burden to you. It's harder for you to go to school in a wheelchair with me. He thought to himself when he heard that he wanted to continue studying, the girl insisted on going with him, saying, I don't want to be a burden to you. It's harder for me to go to school in a wheelchair. May has bought this newly developed heavy pair. But even though she can't stand up, she can still walk with a stick. You suddenly imagine Karina crying when she sees you buying this brace for her, trying to push away the horrifying thoughts about the price. But it's still better than a wheelchair. If I tell her, she'll cry because I always spend money on her. Tsuyoshi continues to drown in her thoughts. It's for myself. I tried to buy it with the money I took from those 3 guys. But now there's nothing left. You keep thinking about the ring, you can't sell the space ring. I'll have more opportunities when I become a hero. You turn to look at your sister who is happily taking each step, and the thought crosses your mind. Looking at Karina's face, everything is worth it. Yes, that's enough. You support Karina's back as you walk up the stairs, gently saying, Be careful and don't be too reckless. After school, I'll come down to get you. Karina obediently replies to her brother. Yes, Tsuyoshi thinks to herself. He will definitely treat me well. There are 2 girls standing in the hallway, and the girl with black hair, Mina, who is sucking on a lollipop, immediately asks, Who's that girl using a stick and those strange tools to walk? Vivian, the blonde girl next to her, replies, That's Karina. She was attacked by darkness and lost both her parents, and her legs are injured. Hearing this, Mina looks at Karina with a sly gaze and continues, Really, that girl became disabled after going through such poverty. What a pitiful soul. Vivian immediately adds, That incident was reported in the news. Even the teachers have been talking about it. Mina takes out the lollipop still sticky with saliva. She frowns disdainfully. Aren't those poor people supposed to live in rat-infested areas until they die? It's such a waste of money to support them. I'm so annoyed by that girl acting all innocent and naive, Vivian whispers, covering her mouth. Are you planning to bully her again? That girl is already disabled. If the school finds out, it'll be bad. Oh, please, she says, her face full of arrogance, arms crossed, continuing, So what if I do? Back then when I bullied her, did anyone dare to say anything? It's the same now. This toy is really interesting. Mina clasps her hands behind her back, walking while talking to Vivian. Come on, I need to go meet my boyfriend. The scene shifts to the vice principal's office, where a voice booms, You should thank Miss Lily. If she doesn't remember me, I won't let you come to school anymore. The vice principal sits in his chair, placing his hand on his bulging belly, continuing, You shouldn't be so arrogant. What do you think school is? Miss Lily, standing next to Tsuyoshi, quickly says, I know, but he has his own reasons. I've guided him, the tuition has already been paid. I'll also help him get the necessary credits. Tsuyoshi shyly rubs his head and speaks up, Vice Principal, thank you so much. After finishing the conversation with the vice principal, the homeroom teacher and Tsuyoshi head outside. You whisper to the teacher, I'm sorry for causing this trouble. The vice principal watches the two leave the room, then focuses on Miss Lily, who is wearing a short dress, his eyes glued to her as he strokes his chin, a sly smile spreading across his face. In my heart, I'm plotting. I don't care about the students. I'm only interested in you. Lily, you really need someone like me. Tsuyoshi and the homeroom teacher were walking down the hallway when Lily turned to him and said she had already paid the tuition for her younger sister. So don't worry, okay? Both of them are strong kids. When Tsuyoshi heard her say that, he replied, I'm sorry for making you worry about us. I'll definitely pay you back. Lily waved her hand dismissively and said, we can talk about that later. You're in your 3rd year now. Get ready for the exams. And you look happier than before. Tsuyoshi, the teacher, is really happy. Tsuyoshi turned to the homeroom teacher and said, I've been trying my best lately. I'm sure I'll meet your expectations. At that moment, Tsuyoshi was thinking, I'm sorry for not telling you that I'm a hero. The problem with the crazy wolf gang is still unresolved, so I have to be careful, but at least I want you to know. I'm not the same as before. Approaching the classroom door, Lily said to Tsuyoshi, let's hurry up and get in. We're having art class. Tsuyoshi stepped into the classroom where everyone was busy with their own work. Ignoring him from afar, a guy had his legs crossed on the desk, and seeing Tsuyoshi started mocking him, thinking he was expelled but was back here now. The guy sitting right above him, named Saryu, chimed in, should we drag him to the restroom again? Really, Vili? Hearing that, he got even more excited. While tossing a paper ball in his hand, he said, of course, when he leaves. My pocket money from your protection fee will go too. Veli grinned wickedly, gathering momentum to throw something, and said, you think I'll sympathize with your family situation? You're the one who should sympathize with those who can't go out. Karaoke and having fun like me. Saryu joined in laughing and joking. Exactly, Riley. The paper ball flew toward Tsuyoshi's seat, and Riley's voice echoed from behind. Let me remind you how it feels to get hit by a paper ball. The paper ball flew toward Tsuyoshi, who didn't even turn around. He calmly caught it with one hand. Both Jelly and Saryu were a bit incredulous at the scene before them. Saryu was sweating, stammering. He caught it. Tsuyoshi sat still, finally glancing back, and said, Jelly, meet me in the restroom. Veli seemed unable to believe what he just heard. He clenched his fists, muttering, what did I just hear? He invited me to the restroom. That jerk dares to be rude to me. It's been a while since we met. I'll make you taste suffering. The bell rang, signaling the end of class. At the restroom door, a tall guy was blocking the entrance, chasing anyone who passed by, telling them to go somewhere else. Inside the boys' restroom, Veli was mocking Tsuyoshi. You're picking up trash after school. I heard you're a janitor. Tsuyoshi just stood there. His fists were clenched tightly, but he still said nothing. Vili, with his hands in his pockets, smugly continued, so where's my protection fee? Saryu, standing behind, also extended his hand. Hand it over. If not... Tsuyoshi's eyes began to shine, and he coldly spoke up, so what? The several guys standing there were taken aback by his response. They all froze for a few seconds, and Veli's face turned bright red. He clenched his fists and said, don't mess with me, I'll beat you up. Saryu and Kazama, hearing him say that, rolled up their sleeves, ready to jump in. We've been waiting for a while, Veli. You're dead meat now. Both of them had just rushed in when Tsuyoshi caught them with his bare hands. He squeezed Kazama and Saryu's arms tightly, their faces contorted, thinking what incredible strength Tsuyoshi was just holding these two. In his mind, he also thought, I've become this strong. He didn't even feel scared anymore. The old him didn't have the courage to protect himself, but he was different now. The system information appeared level 6 warrior class equipped with dark gear. Black Cold Light Sword, Thunderstrike skill, auxiliary skill, Heavenly Shock Force, combat power 8800. Tsuyoshi immediately activated his divine eye to look at the two in front of him. Information about all three appeared before his eyes. Their class and combat power were not a threat. Saryu couldn't pull his hands back. He shouted, let go! Tsuyoshi followed his command and immediately released his grip instead, swinging his leg to kick, sending both flying away. Veli stood there seeing her two underlings. In just a moment, they had collapsed on the floor, their foreheads beaded with sweat. He was thinking, what the hell is going on? He remembered the time when everyone ganged up to bully him. Tsuyoshi then thought, why was that weak Tsuyoshi? Suddenly, he looked at Tsuyoshi standing in front of him, feeling like he had become a completely different person. Just then, the guy outside pushed the door and shouted, Rally, the boss is here, let's go! Rally had no choice but to turn around and help the two stand up and leave. Before leaving, Jelly shot Tsuyoshi a furious and unwilling glance. Tsuyoshi watched the group leave the restroom, thinking to himself. That look seemed to say he was kicked out. Luckily, I held back. If I had used all my strength to kick, they would have been dead. Transitioning to Karina's classroom, she was sitting at her desk talking to her friend. "Sorry for causing you trouble, Haru," her friend replied. "It's okay, just call me if you need anything." Haru turned to hand Karina a notebook when suddenly someone came over, shoved Haru aside, and said, "Get out of the way, I have business with this girl." Mina just hit Haru on the head, leaving the girl to clutch her head. Vivian, standing behind, reminded Mina about Karina's disability. She immediately interrupted her friend if he brought that up again. Then your face would be the next target after Haru was forced to stand next to Mina, who stepped on her chair, arms crossed, staring at Karina as she slowly sat on the table and spoke. "It's been a while since you went to school, huh? I don't have any slaves to play with, so I'm really bored. How are you going to make it up to me?" Karina just sat there. The girl could only tremble, stuttering, I don't have any money." Mina, hearing that, raised both hands to her cheeks, teasingly saying, "Isn't money something you can sell?" Karina still trembled, placing her hands on her legs, then replied, "This frame, no. My brother worked hard to buy it for me, so it's very important to me." Both Mina and Vivian were taken aback by her words. For a moment, they were speechless. Mina put her hand on her chin, pondering for a while before speaking. "Important to you, huh?" "Without it, you wouldn't be able to go right." Karina honestly replied, "Yes." Moreover, Mina immediately exploded in anger, slapping the girl across the face and saying, "So what?" The classmates around could only fall silent, no one daring to say anything in the face of Mina's actions. Just then, the teacher walked in with documents, interrupting the class. "Class is starting, sit down." Mina turned her back and walked away. She left Karina with a message. "The teacher is here. It's already the 6th period. Don't even think about sneaking home after class." "Karina, we're not done talking yet." The teacher at the front of the class starts picking up the book to lecture, opening the textbook. Today, Karina sits below, only able to lower her head in fear, lost in thought. "I have to run really fast when class ends. I can't wait for my brother. I have to use the back door to prevent him from meeting Mina and the others." Transitioning to the classroom, Miss Lily closes the book and announces, "Class is dismissed. Everyone remember to go home safely." The class monitor immediately stands up and calls out, and the whole class responds in unison, "Thank you, teacher." As the class prepares to leave, Miss Lily clasps her hands behind her back and calls out, "Tsuyoshi, can I talk to you?" You obediently walk up to your homeroom teacher. "Yes, what is it?" Miss Lily smiles gently and asks you, "Have you gotten used to school again?" Then she continues, "Is there anything I can help you with?" Tsuyoshi smiles with squinted eyes, responding to the teacher's question, "I'm fine, thank you, teacher." Miss Lily feels happy hearing you say that and continues, "Really, that's great. If anyone bullies you, remember to tell me, okay? You don't need to be scared like before." Tsuyoshi, feeling confident, replies, "I'm really okay, thank you so much, teacher." The homeroom teacher feels reassured hearing your affirmation. As she leaves, she waves her hand and says to Tsuyoshi, "I've troubled you too much. I'm really glad you're back at school. If anything happens, just let me know. Go home early." Tsuyoshi sees her leaving, waves goodbye, and replies, "Goodbye, teacher." Just as the homeroom teacher leaves, someone calls out to you, "Hey, Tsuyoshi!" You turn around to see Saryu. He crosses his arms, looking bored with beads of sweat forming, and continues, "I want to apologize for what happened in the bathroom. Can you come with me? Let's talk somewhere else." Tsuyoshi slings his bag over his shoulder and follows him out into the hallway, asking as they walk, "Where to?" Saryu nervously replies, "Just over there. I want to apologize somewhere else." He walks ahead, leading the way with a sinister smile on his face. As they reach the dark corner at the end of the hallway, someone jumps out with a stick aiming to beat Tsuyoshi. Saryu ducks to avoid the blow, smiling wickedly, saying, "Really? Don't go too far." Tsuyoshi immediately raises his hands to shield himself from the attacks of the group in front of him, activating his superhuman body system, focusing 30% of his strength into his arms. Saryu, lying on the floor, sees the wooden stick hitting Tsuyoshi, which shatters into pieces. He stammers, "No way, he blocked it." Tsuyoshi bends down to wipe the dirt off his cheek. Looking at Saryu with a cold voice, he says, "I know you're up to something, but I didn't expect you to be this cowardly." The system then displays Tsuyoshi's status level 6 warrior class, equipped with dark spirit armor, dark Han Guang sword skill thunderstrike. Energy 8800, Tsuyoshi furious kicks Saryu away. He cries out in pain and fear, and the group surrounding him rushes in to attack Tsuyoshi. One of them shouts, "Take that!" Tsuyoshi quickly dodges. He immediately delivers a powerful kick to the opponent, sending him crashing to the ground, unable to move, frothing at the mouth. Tsuyoshi coldly says to them, "You immediately gave the opponent a kick Kazama style. After the kick, he lay motionless on the floor, foam starting to form at his mouth. Tsuyoshi coldly said to them, "You guys still haven't learned your lesson. What a bunch of losers." Rally charged at Tsuyoshi with a bat shouting, "Die." Tsuyoshi just stood there looking at him and said, "If we weren't at school, you'd be dead by now." Valley was rushing over, but suddenly froze, staring at Tsuyoshi, his face pale and green, thinking to himself that he couldn't move. All he could do was tremble as he continued to think. "I'm scared of that Tsuyoshi." He just raised his hand and said, "It's bedtime." In an instant, a slap landed on Jelly's face, causing him to drop the baseball bat. After the slap, Jelly immediately fell to the ground, motionless. Tsuyoshi looked at him with disgust and said, "I'm late to pick up my sister. You're still alive thanks to the hero's law. A hero won't kill civilians." Transitioning to the back hallway, Karina was there. The girl was panting, dragging her heavy steps. Terrified, she thought to herself that she had to escape Mina through the back gate, just needing to circle around to the front. As she passed through the back gate, she saw stairs leading down. Karina sighed in fear, telling herself that she was still scared to go down the stairs and needed to calm down. Slowly, unexpectedly, a hand appeared from behind, pushing her down. Karina lost her balance and fell down the stairs, her heavy backpack flying off. She landed face first on the ground, her nose starting to bleed. Mina and her friends stood on the stairs, looking down and laughing triumphantly. "She fell? Did you think you could escape through the back?" "I knew you'd come here." Mina smirked at Karina and continued, "Take that thing off your leg, Karina." The girl turned back, crying and pleading, "Please don't take my heavy frame." Mina walked over, stepping on Karina, hands on her hips, arrogantly saying, "If we take it off ourselves, you might not be in one piece, girl." Meanwhile, Tsuyoshi was waiting for his sister at the front gate, but he didn't see her. He thought to himself, "Is Karina not here? I just went to her class, but my classmates said she went home." Suddenly, someone called him from behind. "Excuse me?" He turned around to see Haru, who said, "You're Karina's brother, right?" Tsuyoshi nodded at her and asked, "Do you know where Karina is?" "We had planned to go home together." Haru hesitantly said, "I think she went out the back gate. Maybe you should check." Tsuyoshi, carrying his backpack, strode down the hallway, analyzing that Karina was at the back gate and something must have happened. Haru looked very strange, as if she was scared of something. "Anyway, I have to find Karina." He walked through the long hallway to the front stairs, thinking again. "To get to the back gate, I have to go down these stairs. Karina really came here." Suddenly, something caught Tsuyoshi's eye, leaving him speechless. The scene before him showed Karina kneeling on the ground, her clothes covered in blood and wounds. Tsuyoshi immediately rushed to his sister without saying anything. Seeing her brother, Karina lifted a strand of hair and forced a smile, asking, "Why are you here?" Tsuyoshi remained silent. He immediately activated his divine eye system, targeting Karina, analyzing her wounds. Karina still tried to smile, foolishly lying. Tsuyoshi remained silent. "You immediately activated the target's divine eye system to analyze Karina's injuries." Karina still tried to smile foolishly and lied. "It's my brother's fault. I fell down the stairs." But her words couldn't escape Tsuyoshi's keen eyes, and he immediately noticed the bruise on her forehead from being punched. There were bruises from being slapped multiple times on her cheeks, bruises from being pinched on her arms, internal injuries from being kicked in the stomach, and bruises from being kicked in the waist. The system concluded that there were many bruises on the target's body. Tsuyoshi clenched his fists tightly, softly, saying to Karina, "You fell, that must hurt a lot." Thinking of the scene where his sister was bullied, Tsuyoshi's heart sank. Karina forced a smile, brushed her hair, and continued, "I'm so clumsy that I can't even go down the stairs. The frame broke." I'm sorry." Tsuyoshi still said nothing to the girl. He just sat down quietly, packing up his sister's backpack. Karina continued, "I don't want to cause trouble for you, big brother. But the frame broke and I can't get up." After packing up his sister's bag, Tsuyoshi set it aside. He looked at Karina and smiled, saying, "We're family, right? There's no such thing as a burden. Falling down here must hurt you a lot." The girl immediately took her brother's hand, denying it. "No, I'm fine, don't worry." Karina then looked down at her leg, staring at the frame, and asked, "Big brother, what about this frame? Is it broken?" Tsuyoshi gently replied to his sister, "It's still fine." Hearing that, Karina sighed in relief. Thank goodness. Tsuyoshi carried the girl on his back and left. "All right, let's go home." The sky was a fiery red as the sunlight shone down in the late afternoon, and the two siblings walked down the road. Tsuyoshi carried his sister on his back and said to her, "Do you remember, Karina, that day I also carried you like this? I can feel how much you've grown." That was a long time ago. Karina gently wrapped her arms around her brother's neck and softly said yes, but it felt like just yesterday since that day. "We've always been together," Tsuyoshi heard his sister say, and he nodded slightly before continuing. "You're the only family I have since that day. I want to be stronger to protect you. Back then I had no strength, but now I'm a hero. I won't let you go through that again." Karina was silent for a moment before saying to Tsuyoshi, "I know you always try for me. That's why I don't want to be a burden to you." Tsuyoshi suddenly stopped and set her down. He said to his sister, "You're saying that again? We're family. Wait here for a moment. I'll be right back." Karina didn't know where her brother was going, but she still listened and asked, "Where are you going?" Tsuyoshi slung his bag over his shoulder, glanced at Karina sitting there, and said, "I forgot something, so I have to go get it." Karina asked again, but her brother didn't respond. "I forgot something." Tsuyoshi adjusted his tie and then left. Outside a classroom, laughter and joy echoed from inside. "That little brat is trying to protect her foot, so she's really annoying," Mina's group said with her lounging on the desk. "But I can't see that thing on her foot. It's driving me crazy." "We could sell them for money. Next time we'll steal it." The blonde guy sitting in front was Mina's boyfriend Billy from Class 3-6. Hearing this, he asked, "Can we really sell it?" "Don't worry, I'll get it tomorrow." Vivian rested one hand on her hip, looked at the lollipop in her hand, and said, "I heard that her brother Tsuyoshi just came back to school. Is he okay?" "I heard that guy dropped out to work as a laborer." Mina, hearing this, brushed her hair back and scoffed. "A laborer turns out he's just a trashy guy, a cripple, and a bottom feeder. Just sharing a school with them makes me feel ashamed. I hope they get expelled." Vivian brought the candy to her mouth and continued, "Karina was really popular before her leg got hurt. There are a lot of boys in my class who like that cute girl. She's smart and knows how to dress." Billy heard that. He rested his chin on his hand, his eyes full of anticipation, saying she's cute and knows how to dress. He also wants to meet that girl. Mina frowned at her boyfriend, warning him, "You dare say that in front of me?" Billy immediately stood up, leaning towards his girlfriend, and said, "Don't be mad, I didn't mean anything by it." Mina looked into his eyes and continued, "So tomorrow after we steal her frame, we can sell it to make some money and go out." Billy immediately replied, "Sure thing. Just a weak girl, that's easy." But they didn't know that Tsuyoshi had been standing outside the classroom, hands in his pockets, listening to their conversation for a while. As soon as Billy finished speaking, Yoshi turned around, holding his bag with one hand, walking into the classroom. Seeing someone come in, all three of them looked on in confusion. Billy immediately raised an eyebrow and said, "Who dares to enter this room?" Tsuyoshi stood in front of them, speaking clearly. "So it was you guys who hurt Karina and she said she fell down the stairs." Vivian heard that and chimed in, guessing. "He's Karina's brother, but how—" Mina still didn't realize she had messed with someone she shouldn't have. She smirked and said, "You want to take revenge for your sister, huh? He came at the wrong time, didn't he?" Billy raised his hand to crack his knuckles and said, "Tsuyoshi, you trash!" His fingers intertwined, his voice carrying authority. "You're just a little punk, haven't you heard of me, the great Billy? Mina just played a few games with your sister." Tsuyoshi remained still, calmly saying, "So you guys pushed an injured girl down the stairs, huh?" Billy walked up to Tsuyoshi, pretending to clean his ears as if he didn't hear anything. Pointing at Tsuyoshi, he said, "Hey, Trash, what do you have to say? You want to apologize?" Mina was still lounging on the table, adding, "We should make this guy understand the situation." Billy then put on a fierce face, glaring at Tsuyoshi, continuing, "How dare a trash like you waste our time?" Before he could finish, Tsuyoshi grabbed his finger and bent it back. Billy looked at his crooked finger. He screamed in agony, "My finger, how dare you, you bastard!" Both Mina and Vivian were wide-eyed in shock, exclaiming in unison, "What just happened?" Tsuyoshi stepped back slowly, closing the classroom door, warning, "Not just you, I won't let anyone escape." Tsuyoshi's eyes immediately turned red. He activated Hero Mode Level 6 Class Warrior equipped with Dark Spirit Gear, Dark Ice Sword Skill, Thunderstorm 2nd Skill, Celestial Shock. Combat Power 8800. Tsuyoshi immediately used Divine Sight on the three people in front of him. The result was none of them had a class, no combat ability, no threat. Nina finally realized she was scared. Stammering, she shouted, "What are you doing?" Tsuyoshi casually placed his backpack on the table and said, "I thought you were a hero because you were so arrogant, but it turns out you're just aimlessly causing trouble." Billy was still holding his injured hand from earlier, sweating profusely, his voice full of anger. "You bastard, my finger!" Mina knelt beside him, asking at him, "Billy, are you okay?" Billy still growled, "Do you know who my dad is?" Vivian was also scared, but she crossed her arms defiantly, asking again, "You're Tsuyoshi, right? Karina's brother. I admire you for having the courage to come here alone." She frowned in annoyance, continuing, "We're not heroes, but we're not people you can mess with." As soon as she finished speaking, Tsuyoshi swung his hand and slapped her hard, sending her flying. The candy in her hand shattered after his slap. Vivian fell, and Tsuyoshi spoke again. "You think I wouldn't dare hit a woman?" Tsuyoshi swung his hand and slapped hard, sending the candy flying and breaking into pieces. After the slap, Vivian fell back, and Tsuyoshi spoke up. "You think I wouldn't dare hit a woman?" Mina felt an overwhelming fear at the sight. And deep down she thought Vivian Billy was also biting her lip in fear, her uncle trembling with every breath. Billy was thinking quickly. Even the gym students didn't move that fast. What on earth was happening? Mina saw her friend huddled in a corner and shouted, "Vivian?" Billy Pale still tried to raise her voice to say it again as Tsuyoshi leaned down, pressing his face close to Mina. This made her scared, and she flinched away as he spoke to her. "I don't see you and that girl as women," Billy continued to shout, threatening. "Don't you get it?" "My dad." Before he could finish, Tsuyoshi punched him, knocking out a few of his teeth. He cursed, "I'll deal with your dad later. Shut your mouth." Nina saw her boyfriend getting knocked out like that. She panicked and screamed, "Billy!" Before she could say anything more, Tsuyoshi grabbed her by the throat. Tsuyoshi lifted her high. Mina struggled to breathe as he pressed her against the wall near the window. Terrified, she grabbed his hand. "Wait, let me go!" Tsuyoshi raised a finger to his lips, signaling her to be quiet, then said to her, "From what I've heard over there, you're the one who came up with the idea to bully Karina, right?" His eyes were filled with rage as he continued. "Now listen closely, this is the brother of that girl. I will never forgive what you did to her." His grip tightened around Mina's throat, making it hard for her to breathe. Tsuyoshi spoke each word with intense anger, continuing to warn her, "From now on, stay away from Karina. I don't expect you to apologize to her, but keep your distance." Seeing Mina trembling with wide eyes, Tsuyoshi gave one final warning glare and said, "If you go against this next time, I'll rip your head off. I mean it. Got it?" Mina, struggling, managed to respond, "Yes." Tsuyoshi, satisfied with her answer, released her, simply saying, "Good," while Mina gasped for air on the ground. Tsuyoshi turned to Billy. At this point, he finally spoke, "You're the boyfriend of this girl, right?" As Tsuyoshi picked up a ruler from the ground, he asked, "Do you still want to bully Karina?" He held the ruler in his hand and approached Billy, saying, "Just this ruler alone is enough to finish off trash like you." Billy, sitting on the ground trembling, said, "Wait, hold on." Tsuyoshi raised the ruler, looking down at Billy with a cold glare, then continued, "Just thinking about what you said makes me sick. If you were a hero, I would have killed you already." Billy, holding his cheek, still tried to shout, "Do you know who I am? I'm the son of the president of the Green Snake Society. Do you even know what the Green Snake Society is?" "My dad is a level 10 hero." Tsuyoshi paused with the ruler in midair, asking, "The Green Snake Society, the loan sharks?" Tsuyoshi thought about the 3 guys he had beaten up in the hospital, wondering if they were the ones we owed money to for Karina's medical bills. Those guys said the same thing when they came to the hospital. After thinking this, Tsuyoshi looked at Billy with an icy gaze and said, "It's really ridiculous how I keep running into people I can't stand like this. So the Green Snake Society, huh?" As he spoke, Tsuyoshi began to gather electric energy. Billy, sitting on the ground, saw him using electricity and asked, "Is this your skill? Are you a hero?" Tsuyoshi didn't answer him. He swung the ruler down, slicing through the air towards Billy, and instantly Billy was jolted with electricity. The system immediately displayed a warning if the weapon used is inappropriate. The damage will be reduced by 90%, so it won't be full force. Tsuyoshi turned and walked away. He tossed the ruler aside and said, "That should be enough pain for you." Tsuyoshi walked to the desk, grabbed his bag, and slung it over his shoulder. Before leaving, he didn't forget to leave a message. "Don't forget, this is your first and last chance to keep your promise." Leaving the 3 sitting on the ground, Tsuyoshi reminded them, "And I'm sorry, too. You have to clean up the classroom yourself." After getting up, Billy was still steaming. He exhaled sharply and asked, "Is it gone?" Mina approached to help her boyfriend and said, "Billy, are you okay? We should go to the hospital." At this moment, he could finally open his eyes. He looked out the door and said, "No, I just need to rest a bit." "I don't know if he's a hero." Mina raised her hand to her neck, showing Billy the marks on her neck, still panicking. "What are you planning to do?" "This isn't over yet, is it? Look at this scar. He has to pay for his actions. Tell your dad." Billy's eyes were red with anger as he charged at her, shouting, "Don't point your finger at me! He will definitely pay for this!" Billy, with a furious look, confidently asserted, "I'll make him pay! My dad!" Billy grabbed Mina by the collar, and she could only fearfully say, "Right, tell your dad about the guy who messed with you." Billy turned to the side, still fuming. "I'm going to ask my dad, and then I'll wipe him and his little sister off the face of the earth." Transitioning outside, Karina was still patiently sitting on the bench looking up at the sky, mumbling to herself, hoping that her brother was okay. She placed her hands on her legs and looked at them again. Talking to herself, she thought if she could take care of herself, she wouldn't have to bother her brother. She didn't want to make him worry more, especially since he was already concerned when he found out about her heroic state. Just recently, suddenly, a voice called out, startling her. It was Tsuyoshi. He had returned. He squatted down, smiled at her, and said, "Sorry to keep you waiting. Let's head home." "All right, let me carry your bag for you," Karina eagerly replied. Tsuyoshi carried his sister on his back, and the two continued walking down the road. Inside, he began to ponder. The young leader of the Green Snake Guild was a level 10 hero, and Billy's father, right? Billy must be crying to his dad, asking him to take revenge on us. After all, they outnumber us too much. Karina would also be in danger. He couldn't afford to let his guard down. He carried his sister through the neighborhood back home. As they walked, he couldn't stop thinking about returning to the other world. "Karina, I won't let them harm you anymore. Tsuyoshi is back here." He and Sakura began their training journey again. As they walked, Sakura spoke to him, "Master, we've arrived at the no-god territory." "This is what you need to know." Sakura kindly explained the rules of this land to Tsuyoshi. "Once you set foot in the town, you will be able to participate in an official quest. You will need to register at the Adventurers Guild in the town. In the town, you will find an inn, a blacksmith, and a part shop." Tsuyoshi listened to her. He clasped his hands together, his face full of excitement, and said, "That's it. I've always wanted to gain real combat experience. This sounds fun. Let's go. I'm really looking forward to it." Right before them was the city of the Beastmen, No God. The system displayed Tsuyoshi information, level 6, class warrior, equipped with a Dark Goblin set weapon, Dark Ice Sword skills. Thunderstorm skill level 2, Heavenly Strike combat power 8,800. The city of the Beastmen. No God, Tsuyoshi, and Sakura quickly entered the bustling town. Tsuyoshi couldn't help but exclaim how amazing it was to discover so many different beast tribes. Sakura, walking right behind her, covered her mouth with her hand and laughed, observing that there were quite a few rare tribes here, each with their own unique characteristics. Tsuyoshi looked around for a while. Something caught his eye in front of him, and Tsuyoshi placed his hands on his hips and spoke up. He saw two humans standing not far away, and Tsuyoshi continued, "Those humans look like adventurers." Sakura quickly noticed the two of them as well. She immediately asked, "Do they look like people from your world, Master? In a big city with an adventurers guild, there are many different races. There are also rules that we should avoid getting involved in dangerous fights outside the arena, but still, Norton is also a city of beastmen after all, so of course we'll meet a lot of beastmen here." Sakura, still walking behind, raised her hand to her cheek shyly and continued, "Although the proud elf tribe and the noble beastmen are quite rare here." Tsuyoshi, hearing her say that, replied, "I get it. It's really interesting. This is the first time I've met humans like me since coming here. I can feel the connection between us." Just as he finished speaking, Sakura realized she could no longer see Tsuyoshi. She looked up and saw him running towards the two people in front of them. Tsuyoshi quickly approached to greet them. "Hello!" Sakura reached out to try to stop him, but it was too late. "Master, you can't just—" Suddenly, the two people in front noticed Tsuyoshi. They immediately became alert. The person in the tightly wrapped green cloak drew a knife and asked, "Who are you?" The girl in the red outfit added, "Don't come near us." Tsuyoshi, seeing their reaction, asked in confusion, "Is there a rule about greetings here?" Sakura quickly stepped in front of Tsuyoshi, raising her hand to calm the situation, and said to them, "This is a misunderstanding." The two on the other side were startled and both whispered to each other, feeling uneasy. The two then walked away, not looking pleased. The girl in the red outfit muttered as she left, "What the heck was that?" After the two left, Tsuyoshi and Sakura quickly continued on their way. Sakura explained as they walked, "It seems you can't just strike up a conversation with the adventurers around here in this city. You'll only make them wary. Most adventurers, especially humans, are very cautious about everything around them." Tsuyoshi rubbed his head and replied, "I see. This world has quite a few rules, huh?" He noticed the beastmen passing by were all looking at the two of them and feeling a bit strange. He spoke up. "It seems like people around here are talking about something." "Yeah." Sakura just bowed her head in silence, not saying anything. The gazes of the beastmen kept staring at the two of them, and Sakura could only lean closer to Tsuyoshi and whisper to him. "I'm sorry, it's because I'm a half-beast. The beastmen really hate mixed blood. We're just here to register at the Adventurers Guild." Tsuyoshi, hearing her say that, rubbed the back of his neck and quietly said, "It's better if they just leave us alone." Tsuyoshi didn't care how many pairs of eyes were watching them. He smiled and reached out to Sakura, saying, "Discrimination exists everywhere, so don't worry too much about it." Hearing him encourage her like that, Sakura mustered up her courage, took Tsuyoshi's hand, and replied, "Okay." The two of them wandered around for a while. This place felt like it had stepped out of a story. Finally, they stopped. In front of a house, a sign for the guild hung above. Tsuyoshi looked at the sign in front of him and said, "Just like in a game or anime." Sakura, standing behind, reminded him, "Master." In front of a house, a sign for the guild hung above. Tsuyoshi looked at the board in front of him and spoke, "Just like in the game and anime," and there it was, the quest board. Sakura reminded him from behind, "Master. We won't be able to take on any quests if we haven't registered yet. You two go inside the house immediately." Standing in front of the receptionist, Sakura cheerfully said, "We're here to register as adventurers." The person opposite, holding a lit pipe, replied, "A party consisting of 1 beastman and 1 human." "Oh, interesting," the cat beast woman said. Her name is Miko, and she asked, "Which of you wants to register?" Tsuyoshi heard that. He raised his hand to scratch his head and said, "It's me," unlike the others who were staring at us from outside. Miko took out a registration form, placed it on the counter, and while handing it to Tsuyoshi, she said, "I've seen countless adventurers before, so this isn't anything new to me. Just write your information down here. Your name and profession will be recorded and shared with all the adventurers' guilds. Next time you can take on quests even at other branches." Tsuyoshi held the registration form in his hands, feeling a bit nervous, and asked, "We're writing an official document, right?" Sakura placed her hand on his shoulder and reminded him, "What's important now isn't the document, but your application. If you don't finish it, you won't be able to get an adventurer's badge." Hearing this, Tsuyoshi happily asked, "An adventurer's badge?" Miko, standing at the counter, presented a badge and explained, "Yes, this proves your identity as an adventurer. This is one of the lowest ranks. The higher the badge rank, the more benefits and rewards you get, so try to gain as much experience as you can starting from the lowest rank. The badge will start from bronze, then to silver, and finally gold. But there are only a few gold-ranked adventurers hanging around the guild. Those strong adventurers usually only take quests from the wealthy." Tsuyoshi held the badge in his hand, noticing it was only level 6, and said, "The lowest level badge doesn't mean much." Miko, hearing him, explained, "When you receive a badge, your level will be automatically determined. You can also hide your level with the badge." Tsuyoshi looked up and saw his rank displayed above his head. He asked, "Wow, how do I do that?" Sakura, standing beside him with her hands clasped behind her back, said, "Let me tell you, you're connecting with your badge as an adventurer. You just need to think about it, and you can hide it. But you have to remember how to do that." Tsuyoshi took the badge out of the box, held it in his hand, closed his eyes, and connected with the badge, thinking, "Is it just by thinking? Thanks to the divine selection system, this is as easy as pie." Miko, seeing that he had hidden his level, was very surprised and exclaimed, "It's rare to see someone succeed on the first try. That method is usually considered quite difficult for newcomers." Suddenly, 2 large beast men entered the guild, and as soon as they came in, they aggressively shoved Tsuyoshi aside. The one in front, with a rough voice, said, "Get out of the way, trash." The one behind was carrying something on his back. He immediately threw it onto the counter and said, "We're here to report on our quest progress." The tall guy with a tuft of black hair introduced himself as Glum Joe. He leaned against the counter and asked, "Are there any other quests any side jobs would do?" He leaned in close to Miko and said to her, "If not, how about grabbing a drink? It's on me." Miko, calmly holding her pipe, declined. "Sorry, I'm busy." She handed over a quest request and continued, "There's an urgent request here. Although the reward is quite high, the difficulty is also high. The requester wants to commission an adventurer. The lowest level is 15. Can you handle it?" Both of them were taken aback and hesitantly asked, "Isn't there one around level 10? The one next to him, Schoolmore, also chimed in, "What exactly is this quest?" Miko immediately said, Tell them that a large number of dark carnivorous creatures are causing trouble for the farmers, and a team of 3 has also taken on this commission. But they were severely injured and one of them is still missing, Nico added. Their levels are also higher than yours, Bloom. Hearing this, sweat dripped down Bloom's forehead. He continued, Dark carnivorous creatures at level 10 and in a pack too? Schoolmore slapped his hand on the counter and said, Forget it. This commission probably requires level 20 or higher. Suddenly, Trui IOC reached out to grab the mission commission and said, We'll take on these 2 big beastmen. Instantly turning around, Trui IOC scolded, You're in the way, you trash. Lunjo, feeling frustrated, asked, What did you say? Lumjo was about to draw his weapon. But his beastman teammate quickly stopped him and reminded, Wait, do you know the consequences of drawing a weapon in the guild? Tsunmo crossed his arms over his chest, looking at Tsuyoshi. As he turned to leave, he warned, Don't underestimate humans. If you still value your life, don't take that commission. Lunjo beside him also spoke up, You just registered right. Aren't you afraid of monsters? Tsuyoshi didn't respond to them. He just said, If you can't do it, then shut up. Or do you want to test my fighting ability in the arena? As soon as he finished speaking, Tsuyoshi clenched his fists, the veins immediately bulging. The system notification activated superhuman body, Tsuyoshi thought to himself. With the help of the divine selection system, he could fight a level 9 beastman in a one-on-one match. Tsunmo saw him so arrogant. He looked down from above and said, You should know your place. No matter how strong you are, we've gained a lot of experience from our missions. Your badge still looks new, huh? You'll become a joke if the client rejects you. Miko, who had been standing at the counter, spoke up to ease the atmosphere. Your courage is commendable, kid, but they have a point. With your current rank, you might get rejected by the client. Hearing this, Tsunmo became even more pleased and laughed loudly. Did you hear that trash start from the bottom? The task of catching lost dogs would suit you better. At this moment, Sakura turned around and declared to them, No, we will take this commission. Everyone in the room was stunned when they heard her. Lunjo noticed that Sakura was a beast man and said, Your teammate is a mixed blood. Do you really have what it takes to do this? Sakura immediately raised her badge for everyone to see and coldly said, This gold-level badge is enough to prove it, isn't it? The 2 beastmen were shocked to see her holding the highest-level badge, both exclaiming, Gold-level badge? Tsuyoshi was also taken aback by the badge in her hand. He looked at her with admiration, thinking, Does this little cat-eared girl really have a gold-level badge? Miko, standing at the counter, called out, You should have said that from the beginning. Satisfied, she raised her pipe and smiled, saying, I will entrust this commission to you. I bet the client will be very pleased. After seeing this, the 2 beastmen could only quietly walk away. Tsuyoshi, standing behind, mocked, So now you guys are running away, huh? Tsuyoshi stood behind, mocking, So now you guys are running away, huh? Sakura walked over, smiled at Tsuyoshi, and said, This quest will help speed up your upgrade, my lord. Tsuyoshi shyly touched the back of his neck and replied, That's right, let's do it. Miko listened to their conversation and couldn't help but wonder why a gold-level adventurer would call a kid my lord. Who is this boy anyway? What an interesting team, thought Sakura, as she and Tsuyoshi grabbed the quest and set off. Looking at the quest details, she said, The farm where the dark carnivorous creatures are rampaging must be around here. They must be nearby. As Tsuyoshi walked, he turned to Sakura and said, I didn't know you had a gold badge, Sakura. Hearing this, Sakura felt a bit shy and blushed before starting to explain. Oh yes, I joined the Adventurers Guild when I was little. I've participated in many missions and quests with different teams. Then I realized I met the requirements to upgrade to gold level, so I exchanged and upgraded my badge. Is that strange? Tsuyoshi looked at her, smiling gently, thinking to himself, She's been active in the guild since she was a child. She must have gone through a lot. He then said to her, No, you're quite impressive, Sakura. Sakura blushed at this and softly replied, Thank you, sir. The 2 were walking when they suddenly stopped looking at the village shrouded in dark smoke. In unison, they both said, Looks like we've arrived. Sakura observed the scene of the village before her and spoke, Our opponent seems strong. The sky was overcast, and surrounding the village were level 10 monsters scattered everywhere. Tsuyoshi and Sakura stood behind the iron gate watching the scene. Inside, Sakura spoke up. A horde of dark monsters. I wonder how many people are left in there. Tsuyoshi nodded in agreement and continued. It looks terrifying. Sakura, sitting near the gate, looked up at Tsuyoshi and said, After all, they are dark monsters. They will corrupt all living beings, driving them insane and making them stronger. Low-level creatures might even lose their minds, just like those dark goblins that turn into slimes becoming dark monsters. Tsuyoshi looked at the moving monsters inside. So they were once slimes? No wonder they look so slimy. So these carnivorous dark monsters are just dark slimes. They are dangerous because only lightning elemental attacks work on them. Tsuyoshi lowered his head looking at Sakura and smiled as he shared his idea. Then lightning is definitely the best choice. Tsuyoshi immediately entered a battle stance and began generating electric sparks, saying to Sakura, "Let's charge in. You just stand back and watch like always." As Tsuyoshi unleashed his power, he thought about the weapon he had brought to have a chance to upgrade it. His status display showed he was level 6, a warrior class equipped with a fox set. Weapon Black Ice Sword, skills none. Secondary skill Celestial Strike, combat power 8,800. As Tsuyoshi unleashed his power, he thought to himself that he had brought weapons to have a chance to upgrade them. The system displayed his status level 6 class warrior equipped with a fox set. Weapon Dark Ice Sword, skill none. Secondary skill Heavenly Strike, combat power 8,800.